of new ALS cases are reported every year, and estimates show that every 90 minutes someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas on average, patients diagnosed with ALS survive only 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis, and whereas the exact cause of ALS are unknown and there is no known cure for ALS, and whereas people who have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service, and whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communication technologies of vital importance to people living with ALS, and whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS, and whereas the ALS Association is the largest philanthropic funder of ALS research globally and has committed more than $54 million to support more than 550 projects across the United States and 18 other countries, and whereas the ALS Association is committed to accelerating the pace of discovery, fueled by the hope that one day ALS will be a livable disease for everyone everywhere until a cure can be found. And whereas ALS Awareness Month provides an opportunity to increase public awareness of the dire circumstances of people living with ALS, acknowledge the terrible impact this disease has on those individuals and their families and support research, now therefore we, the Select Board of the Town of Ashland, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as ALS Awareness Month in Ashland. We call upon all Americans and Ashland residents to join us in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease. Thank you for, I forget what her name was, who made us aware. Yeah, so thank you for making us aware, and just be aware, it is ALS Awareness Month. We always try to share awareness of many different things. Okay, I'm now going to open it up for citizens' participation. Evening. You're fine.
And now it's on, yeah. Okay. The little green light. Okay. First of all, when I first walked in, I thought I was in the Flamingo Everglades. But then I saw the sign before I got walked out. Happy birthday. Thank you. It's amazing that the years this go on and you're in one town still. Well, that's what I say when I send my when I volunteer for committees. There's no way to get rid of me. Y'all me saying anything. That and congratulations being reelected, Brandy and Joe. I hope it was a good turnout. But I'm here for another reason. Monday night's Comprehensive Plan Committee. There's two things that got me somewhat quietly upset, which I didn't say anything, but I sat through it. There was more debate on the tree law than it was caring for senior public housing. Did not settle well. And then I just try and figure how can you be more compassionate and demonstrated for inanimate objects other than humans? With that, I'm going to ask our chairperson, Yolanda and Brandy, and through our town managers, why is a subcommittee going to be formed, and why can't I go on it without making a resume?
Do you mean a subcommittee of the comp plan?
Yep.
Because the subcommittee is of members of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. It's not a separate one that we are looking for new volunteers for. It's based on the people who have been part of the comprehensive plan process since the beginning, and there's a few of those people who feel like they want to, they need some more in-depth work. And we're almost at the end of this process, so it was not something that we felt we wanted to ask for new volunteers for. But the public is going to have an opportunity to review everything in the comprehensive plan before it gets finalized.
It was said before the subcommittee, they were looking for citizens to volunteer at that time.
It might have been misspoke, because it was residents of it was members of the comprehensive plan committee who we were looking to do that.
And how this comprehensive plan group, from the very beginning, had now shrunk to a third of the size.
No, we only have two members that aren't there.
It
We have
was
not-
29 to start with every 6 districts.
Right, and now there's 27.
It was 29 to start, though.
Right.
It was down to about 20 that night.
No, there were people online.
There were like 3 or 4 of them online.
Right. The full committee right now is 27. We've had someone from, we had a ZBA member drop off, and at this point, we probably won't get a new ZBA member. And then we had Moala from DEI drop off. Right, but we're not adding back to it because our work is almost done. So I would say, Mark, if you want to have a conversation with either me and Brandy separately, we can do that.
I'm staying up, I'm going to stay up for about now a couple seconds and say that Asian senior group in this town should have more of a concern than trees.
All I can say to that, Mark, is I think you just heard part of the conversation. We had actually discussed some of the senior housing on Thursday night.
It basically got skipped over compared to the tree bylaw.
It was just the way the discussion went. It does not show relevance for one or the other in the
It
comprehensive
should
plan.
show relevance.
They're both there.
It should show relevance for people living and the future of people coming. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sometimes maybe we should look at, I think, discussion and consider that things that are discussed the least are sometimes the most important, like at town meeting when we did very little discussion about the budget, and then there might be a $1,000 item that gets a lot of discussion. It's
Yeah. Good
sort
point,
of-
Claudia, thank you.
the way it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on. In our agenda, we have introduction of our 2 new assistant town managers. Michael? We might have to pause you to put the hearing in place, but.
Okay. Well, thank you. So yes, as everybody is aware, we've had a few shifts in town hall and had some departures after many years of service here to the town, and people going in different directions in their career. And I can tell you one of my prouder moments as a town manager is when you span the organization, when you do have some vacancies and you realize you don't have to look that far to find qualified, great people to fill them. And so that is exactly what has happened in this case. And so with the departure of our previous assistant town manager, when that left a vacancy, and we were able to use that opportunity to restructure a few things. And I do want to really reinforce for the public that it was budget neutral. That's something that we had discussed. And so we now have 2 assistant town managers. And I think I explained to everybody just kind of what some of the rationale was behind that and what we hope to accomplish with this new structure. And I can get into that a little bit later if we want to. But without further ado, I really am pleased and proud, really proud to announce that Beth Reynolds is our new assistant town manager for community development and community affairs. Beth, I won't steal too much of your thunder here, but Beth has been working for the town for almost 10 years. I'll let her say the exact number for that. So she'll be handling certain aspects of the organization. I can let her get into that a little bit more. And then Catherine Bird, who has worked with us a little over 2.5 years, she is now as the HR director, is now our assistant town manager for administration and operations. And again, I just can't reinforce how proud I am of the fact that we do have these two qualified, capable people here ready to step up in these roles. I've been very, very impressed with them and their work since they've been here. Not just the work that they've been assigned to do and what they're responsible for, but what they have initiated and what they've taken on their own accord, and the growth that they have sought and have worked hard towards. Both of them, you will find them in meetings, taking notes, looking up things afterwards. It's just like they have not only talent, but they also have a very, very strong work ethic. And when you put both of those together, you can really get some amazing things happening and some amazing people. So, and that is another thing I want to impress upon everybody. Both of them are not just great workers, great employees for the town. They're also just great people, and just a really, really strong addition to the management team. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce
Well, actually,
both
there's
of
going to
them.
be a slight further ado because it's 7:15.
Great pause. Great pause. So we timed that just right.
We did. We did. So we have to open the hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Select Board will conduct a hearing regarding an application for a grant of location to install 65-plus feet of conduit and 1 PMH number 28872. The applicant is NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, Grover Road. Work order number 1481653, Ashland, Mass. 01721. A public hearing will be held on the matter on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 at 7:15 p.m. Parties wishing to be heard on this matter are invited to attend the public hearing either in person or by logging into the Zoom meeting. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Select Board's office, Town Hall 101, 1 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. 01721, or by emailing Susan Roby at sroby@ashlandmass.com. Yolanda Greaves, Chair of Select Board. If I can get a motion to open the hearing, please? And a second.
Second.
All those in favor of opening it? Aye. And now we're going to put it, suspend the hearing until we are done with our public announcement. If I can get a motion to do that? And a second. Did I hear a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. So we're going to suspend the hearing, and now we can do the formal introductions.
Sure. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Beth Reynolds as our new Assistant Town Manager for Community Development and Community Affairs, and Catherine Bird is our new Assistant Town Manager for Administration and Operations. And I'm sure you would like them to say a few words themselves. Yes, please. So we'll start at the end. Beth, we'll start with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm very excited for this new opportunity. I'm so happy to continue my work here in Ashland. It's been 9 years, 4 months so far. I'm in my 5th month, so almost 9.5 years. Well, he asked specifically, so need to have the data. So I am very excited about this new chapter. So my role will be to oversee, basically my focus is on communications, public engagement, procurement, and capital projects. So I will be working very closely with our community development team, which includes the health department, building, conservation, communications, planning and economic development, and then also recreation and senior services. So all those, very public-facing departments. I will also work very closely with my colleague Diane in the town manager's office on procurement, so I'll be the chief procurement officer for the town as well.
Congratulations.
My name is Catherine Bird. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Assistant Town Manager for Administration and Operations. As Michael said, I've been here a little over 2 years, 2 years and 8 months to be exact, on the 24th. And this is my 8th day in the role as Assistant Town Manager. Prior to that, I was the HR Director for the town, and I am thrilled to have this opportunity here with such an amazing team. I really do enjoy this work, and it's an added bonus that we have a wonderful team here. So with that being said, my role will be more internal facing, so think internal operations, HR, infrastructure, the select board meeting, logistics, working with Susan Roby very closely on those items, and then the capital planning process. I will be teaming up with the Human Resources Department, still acting as the Human Resources Director. We will be filling the role of Assistant HR Director as well. Sustainability, prevention and human services, and then also the town clerk, that department as well.
Congratulations. Any questions or comments from the rest of the board?
You're gonna be putting a lot of time behind the desk, and, you may not have that extra time with your family, so, just have that family photo on your desk to look up and remember who they are and what they look like,
Oh, there's plenty of photos.
But congratulations, and, we look forward to working with you.
Great.
I'd just like to add that, I think that with Jen leaving us, it was kind of a scary moment for me. I felt like it was a huge piece of the organization.
Yeah.
And I knew how scary it was for
You and a
Michael.
few other people.
And so it was really, I was very pleased that, Michael, you were able to realize that we had some staff right within the team that could really step up and help to make this transition time very smooth. And it was a great time to do some reorganization, and that's, it's so important in challenging times to make them work in your favor. So thank you all, and excited to have you in your new positions.
Anybody else?
So I'll just say, welcome to the table. We're really glad. We're really glad to have you guys here. And it's funny because as this role has been sort of split between the two of you, I've gotten to know both of you over the years, and I think this really plays to both of your strengths, which is really. First, when Michael was like, "Oh, we're going to have 2 town managers," I'm like, "Oh, how's that going to work?" And then when we started talking about the split, I'm like, "Oh, that makes complete sense," because just your strengths really will. I think this plays to your strengths. So I'm looking forward to working more directly with you guys. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, feel free to reach out, because, I want to be a resource to you, and I don't want you guys feeling like you need to do this on your own. So you got a good team. So, and just know that you have our support too.
And I like how symmetrical the table looks right now, right? The 2, yeah, very full. Good. Okay. Well, thank you both. Congratulations to you both. And I think we have a great team moving forward.
We do, and I was remiss earlier in not thanking the board for your support for this. It's like I said, we made it budget neutral, and I think the way we've kind of shifted things around is really going to allow us to do. In the way I've been very careful about phrasing it, not necessarily do more, but do what we have in a more timely manner, and I think put a little bit more attention into each thing as well. Attention and intention, I should say.
Great.
And so yeah, I'm thrilled too.
Good.
I'm trying to be very reserved, but I will say that their energy has certainly reinvigorated me, and they have not skipped a beat.
That's great. That's good. Forward to great things moving forward. Okay. Moving on in our agenda. Susan, do we have someone here from Eversource?
Yes, you have Jacqueline Duffy.
Jacqueline Duffy, okay. If I can get a motion to reopen the hearing, please.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are now reopening the public hearing for this project. Was it Julian Duffy?
Jacqueline.
Thank you. Hi, Jacqueline, how are you?
Good, how are you? I'm filling in for Chris Cosby tonight. It's her
Okay.
anniversary, so I gave her a little break. Eversource would like to install approximately 65 feet of conduit and 1 new pad mount transformer, 28872. This is to provide electric service for the solar for 6 Grover Road.
Okay. We have the map in front of us. Questions from, it's pretty straightforward, questions or comments from the board? Well, that's why they're doing a
right,
conduit.
Conduit, right?
Yep,
Okay, that's fine.
yep.
Before we move on and vote on it, Jacqueline, I do have a quick question for you. How's the process going with trying to remove the double poles in town?
Actually,
I'm not
before you
sure.
ask her that question, Joe, let's wrap this
Oh,
up
okay.
and then you can
Sure.
ask her that.
Okay.
So we can keep this. Is there anyone here to talk against or for this project? For the Grover Road Eversource? No? Okay. Susan, did we get anything from anybody against this, for this, supporting comments?
We did not.
We did not. Okay. So we've announced the public hearing. Is there any other information that the select board needs or any deliberation from the board before we can close the hearing and take a vote on this project? Everyone has a chance to look at the documents. It's 65 feet of conduit. I guess actually I do have one question, Jacqueline. This does look like some of it's in the road. Is that correct?
Yes.
So will you be putting the road back to its best of original state after you're done?
Absolutely.
Okay, because that's, I know sometimes it's been an issue where work's been done and it's been patched, but it then causes issues moving forward, so, okay,
Yes.
great. Any other questions or comments or deliberation? No? I can get a motion to close the hearing, please.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I can get a motion to approve the project for Eversource as presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So the project passes, but before you go, Jacqueline, go ahead, Joe, ask her your question now.
Yeah, it goes without saying that we always hear that, they're taking down these double poles, and I haven't seen any action yet on that, and it's becoming an eyesore. And this is not just recently, this has been an ongoing issue for years. So I just wanted to know, are there any plans by Eversource to hopefully get this double pole issue corrected and removed before I end up in Wildwood?
That I don't know. I work out of the Somerville office. I
Okay.
will send it back to the Southborough office and see what is going on with the double poles.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Sure, no worries.
And then somebody will reach out with that update?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That has been completed. We're going to move on in our agenda. I do want to just make a comment. I know Mark said this when he walked in. If you're watching this and you see our full picture that's up right now, you see a bunch of flamingos in the front of our desk. It actually looks pretty funny, and that's because Joe was flocked for his birthday by the Ashland Day Committee. And I don't know how many of you remember, but years ago, you would see flocks in people's yards, and it was a fundraiser. I think you should bring that back, Bill. That'd be fun. I'd pay. Aren't you about to hit 50, Brandy? Possibly.
Oh.
I'm at 60, so I. I gotta have my mic on, that helps. Does that help, Susan? Yes, okay.
Yes, I couldn't hear anything. I could see everybody laughing.
Okay, we were talking about the flamingos, so if none of you heard that, we were talking about the flamingos that are in the front of us. Okay, moving on, it's that kind of night. Moving on, old and new business, we're going to review and vote on the subcommittee recommendation of the BAA grant and select board community grants. I'm gonna hand this over to Brandy and Claudia.
And I'm going to hand this over to Claudia to start, and then we'll tag team, but.
Okay, thank you very much. So Brandy and I met last week, I believe, and looked at submissions. So I think that there are two different avenues for grants. One is for groups, organizations that are 501c3s, And so those are nonprofit organizations. And then there is a grant process for community organizations. And the money for these grants, the 501c3 money comes from what the BAA, the runners that we have running on behalf of the community, raise. And so that money then allows us to really support organizations in town that are doing good work here. And then the community grants come from rentals and what other things?
It's the Warren Conference Center.
The
It's
Warren
fees-
Conference Center.
It's fees in lieu of, I think it's in lieu of tax payments
Yeah.
that we receive from them. So for folks that are staying overnight, we get.
Right,
part
the
of
rentals up there.
Yep.
Okay. So anyways, just, we had a total of 33 grant applications. And there were 8 that were applied as a community grant and 25 as the nonprofit grants. Okay, we are recommending that in community dollars, we award $5,138.99. And in the 501c3, we recommend we award $63,179.80. So that would leave our current balances in community dollars. We would still have $53,541.68, and that's as of today. And $70,674.84 in the 501c3 account. Just to really talk a little bit about some of the grants that we gave or are giving. The Ashland Business Association, so these are community grants, and they are looking to fund the funds to be used for hosting events that bring residents and business owners to town. They do a couple of events at the Corner Spot. I know that they have done like movies, programs for kids and things like that. And they also offer other opportunities for the business owners in town to come together. The Ashland Day Event Committee, they requested $1,000. Now, one of the things too about the grants, and I wasn't sure how much detail we want to go into, but the 501c3, the nonprofit organizations, are eligible for $6,000 over the course of 2 consecutive cycles. So, and the maximum of $4,000 in any single cycle. So in other words, you can get $4,000 in this cycle, and then the next cycle you could get up to $2,000. And then with the community grant, it's $1,500 over the course of 2. You can get up to $1,000 in a single time, and then you would still be able to get $500 the next time around. So that's the consecutive, and then it starts over again.
And just, when we do receive the grant applications, we look to see how funds have been used in the past. So we ask organizations to provide that level of detail so we have information.
All right, and so sometimes people don't realize exactly, or their numbers are a little off. So Susan Roby is kind enough to keep an eye on things for us and keep track of when monies are awarded, so that we stay within what is part of our policy. Let me see if there was, I was trying to pick a couple of highlights here. The Senior Center, again, they have a memory cafe over there that they provide entertainment and food, and so they have some money, $500 they requested, and we were able to give them to support that. There are programs for sustainability practices. That was another one. ASHPAC, some of you might know the Ashland Special Education Parent Advisory Council that supports families in the public schools with students with disabilities. Energize Ashland, again, they have some website work they wanted to do. We have a resident who has a watercolor class that she does, so we support that she does that at the community center. And what else? Green Up Ashland, some of you have seen people on, usually sometime in the spring around Earth Day, where we have people out cleaning up our streets, and it's amazing how much trash is out there to be picked up. So we thank everybody for that work. The Clocker Club. Okay, so now we're into the 501c3s. So the Clocker Club, they support all student athlete programs in town, and with a variety of, they purchase sometimes uniforms. This is funds for this one is a new mascot that will last for years to come. Some of you maybe have seen through the years the clock. The kiddos would dress up in the clock attire. So I'll be excited to see what our new mascot will look like. They also asked for some funds for a 5K. That helps to offset the expenses of that, and then they're able to raise some money. The emergency fund, that's a good one as well. So we awarded them, or hoping to award them $4,000. Their funding is going to be used for short-term financial assistance for Ashland residents. So pretty significant. We're really able to do some significant things in town. The farmers market, so that's something everybody enjoys, and it certainly does take some money to operate it, and we support that as well. And they indeed are a nonprofit organization that bring a lot of positive, not only just positive items and food and that sort of thing, but just it's really a great meeting place in town. The Firefighters Association, to educate residents about fire safety. They actually spend some time at the farmers market in the summer, and they give away free hats and all kinds of little gadgets for kids, but it's, certainly a great way to reach out to kids young. The Ashland Music Association. So again, another 501c3 doing a lot of work, and lots of times we don't realize how many programs within the schools require outside support that the school budget isn't able to support. And so the Ashland Music Association is a group of parents, and they support the students with musical instruments that they can't otherwise afford. They support students participating in a variety of regional musical competitions and experiences, and so that's a great program as well.
I think all good things, yeah.
All good things, yep.
Yeah.
You had enough?
I think so. I think
Okay.
what would be good, I think, Susan, do we post the list of awardees on the website or not?
Yes, all of the
Okay.
backup is posted, so
Perfect.
that will be part of the backup, but I will also reach out to each of the organizations and let them know what the
Okay.
process will be from here.
Great.
I know, I should have picked a few, my apologies. I should
No,
have
that's
picked a
okay.
few to
It's all
talk
good
about.
No, it's a lot of
stuff.
good
It's all good stuff.
We did want to talk about.
Yeah,
the-
there's three that we
there's
want to talk
three
about.
that we wanted to bring to the
Yes,
entire
please
board.
do, before we vote.
So if you look through the list, there were three that we hadn't, because when Claudia and I met, we felt like we needed more information from the organizations before we could award grant funds to, and there's three. There was the Neurodiversity Support for Children, where the funding will be used for services or support not covered by health insurance. There's the Veterinary Chaplaincy Services, which covers expenses of offering free weekly support groups to grieving people who have lost pets. And they do support groups for people and a support line for those dealing with a difficult diagnosis or loss of a pet. And then the third one is Sportified, where the funds are going to be used to offset the cost of a track tournament, which is held in July. So we had reached out to these organizations asking, or Susan reached out to the organizations asking for more information, because what we were looking for was, we wanted to see how these funds were going to be used and how they were going to benefit the Ashland community. I believe, and I'm not even, I know that the woman that runs Sportified had, her first year doing this, she had done it in Ashland. I don't think it's in Ashland this upcoming year. I think it might be Framingham.
Yeah, it is. And these are pages 28, 30, and 34,
Yeah.
if you want, on
Yeah.
your,
Yep.
So, but, you know, we reached out to find out how many, like, if it was going to benefit the Ashland community. And it, from her response, there was going to be a lot of kids from the Ashland community that were going to be participating in it. For the neurodiversity support for children,
So hold on, so you're
Okay.
saying for the
Sportified.
sportified one, at
It's a track
this
tournament.
point, you said you weren't gonna do anything, but now that you have more information, are you recommending that we add that to the list?
well, we
Or-
wanted to bring it to the board. You know, we didn't really have time to post another
Yeah, as
meeting
another meeting,
anyways, and we
right.
just thought, I think the one thing that's come to light in all of this is that, again, and I know we've reworked the policy a couple of times, but we need to tweak it some more. That sometimes it's hard for people to understand what it is we're looking for,
Right.
what we're trying to support. And so I think that that's something that we need to put on a future agenda.
Okay, so then maybe, do you want us to vote the ones that you've already done?
Yeah,
and
why don't we
then
do that?
And
each?
then we'll
Okay.
talk about
If I
it.
can get a
Okay.
motion to support the funding that was presented in our packets? Yep,
Right. So moved, okay.
so moved from Claudia and a second from Joe. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so now let's talk through
Okay,
the other ones
that
and
works.
decide what we want to do with those. Thank you.
Okay. So, so we were talking about Sportify.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
finish
do
with
one at a
Sportify.
time, and then we could decide.
So in your packet, you can see the response back from,
It came, Katrina.
Nikki.
What page?
Oh, yeah, okay, she did the response, okay. This is page 30, I believe. Yep. So it's almost
In
at
the
the
main
bottom.
packet or in a separate
In-
packet that you
In the
guys?
document that
document I
says
sent.
Spring 2025 grants. It should be it's in the folder.
The one I sent last night, it's by page. Yeah, whatever works for you. I pasted the response at the bottom.
Okay. Why don't you keep going, and then we'll.
Okay, so basically, they say if we have 70 kids, that she can state for certain that 25 of those kids are at least from Ashland that participate. So it's more of a regional thing, but it is, there's a lot of participation from Ashland. She's an Ashland resident, so
Okay.
we've supported that in the past. But it was held in Ashland. So.
And you said 75 students, how many students in total participate?
70.
70.
70 students participate, and she says about 25 are from
Oh,
Ashland.
25 are from Ashland, so,
Do we, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I have a question. Do we know why they relocated to Framingham as opposed to staying in Ashland?
There was an issue with getting the high school field.
Okay,
They had
okay.
worked with DPW, and there was a lot of back and forth trying to make sure that the date was open, because the schools have sort of precedent
Priority.
over the fields. So I think it was a stressful situation.
And when is this date?
July.
It's in July. I don't have the exact.
well, they might have summer program,
There's a
number
lot of
schools have summer
organizations,
programs
right?
and,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, but given the information that she provided, I think it's something that we can, I personally feel like it's something that
Something we should support?
We should support.
Okay. Claudia, do you feel same?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that, that it is actually a significant number of Ashland children, and, all in all, let's face it, even if we want to explore how we should fine-tune the policy, that's fine, but certainly this is not a waste of money, right?
Yeah, no,
It's
it's a
supporting
good-
local
Yeah.
children, and certainly there's a good portion that
Yeah,
are
and it's a
from Ashland.
multicultural, like.
Yeah,
type of
it's a,
activity.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have they sought other funding for other, I mean, where it's being held in Framingham. I mean, I don't know how many students or children from Framingham or the Metro West area getting involved. That they contacted the other towns that some of these other kids are from to see if they can provide additional funding as well. Because it just sounds like they just came to us and just, you know, they know they're gonna get this $4,000. Maybe they don't have to ask anybody else, so.
I think
kinda
they're
curious.
doing other fundraising. Yeah, I would think that they would be.
And it's not a requirement of ours that they find other funding, but I understand your question, Joe. Okay, so you guys are recommending we do the full 4,000 for them? Okay, if I can get a motion
Yes, 4,000.
to
yep.
support the full 4,000 for Sportified.
So moved?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we'll add Sportified for a receival of their grant. Next one?
Again, just as we're going through this and we come up, somebody offers a good suggestion, maybe the policy, we add a question that says,
Are you
where
getting-
are you getting funds
Other
from?
funding,
Or where
yeah.
have you sought funds?
Well, there was a question on an application, and I don't know if it was tweaked, but are you seeking other funding, was a question that was asked by, because I filled out these applications before.
Yeah.
And we presented, where we'll.
Yeah, I think in some form, I remember we turned this into a 2-pager.
Correct.
And that was asked.
That was-
I don't know if I don't think that's the form being used anymore.
Yeah, I think what's in here is every single question
Okay,
included,
okay. Next one?
I think.
Okay, so the next one, I have the neurodiversity support for children, which is
Page 30.
30. And so this is they're using funding to support services that aren't covered by health insurance, and this is the second year of the nonprofit, and this is the first year they're looking to give family grants. So basically, they're not focused on Ashland residents, and they do say that, they are, that they could put a question on their rubric next time that talks about Ashland, but it's not part of their process. So my personal perspective is I'm not sure what connection this organization has to Ashland and how it would benefit the Ashland community. And so, as much as I want to support all nonprofits, ours is really, the intention behind it is really to support efforts that are happening in Ashland. So,
And benefit a larger Ashland community.
yes,
Where are they located?
I don't even have that information.
It's not clear to me in the
No.
document
Yeah.
where they're even located.
If you want to hang on a second, I might be able to tell you, though.
I'm just curious to find out how they found out about the grant.
I do think that the current state of, let's just call it, the environment of nonprofits.
Sure, yeah,
I think
yeah.
my feeling is that nonprofits are finding it harder to get funding in different ways. So,
I don't think that's a feeling. I
no,
think
I
that's
know,
a
I'm
fact.
trying to be,
No,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's tough out there for nonprofits right now. A lot of funding has been cut all the way around due to various
Yeah.
reasons. So, but I was just curious to find out, it's not immediate to me. I didn't see any kind of immediate connection to Ashland either, so I was just wondering.
They are located in Ashland,
see.
25 West Union Street. It doesn't say Ashland, but I'm
Okay.
pretty certain they are.
Okay.
25
And
West
did you say
Union.
we gave them funding before?
No, we've
Oh, okay,
never.
okay.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and as I look at this, I'm like, I understand that, they're a business, but they're I mean, it's hard sometimes to understand that something can be a business and be a nonprofit, and nonprofits are allowed to make money. But the reasoning behind why they want the funds, I'm like, yeah, I don't know that that's a good reason.
Is that the new company that?
Don't forget to turn your
I'm sorry.
microphone on, Joe.
That's the new company that took Efren's office, right? And
Yes.
we just had a ribbon cutting ceremony
Yeah.
several months ago with
Yep.
respect to that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
so.
So I was thinking, would we want to, and would it even, be appropriate to maybe give them $1,000 for Ashland residents that they support?
I mean, that
Or
might
is
be.
that
I mean,
selfish, or-
Well,
mean-
I think that's at least you know, they're a nonprofit, so we want to help that, but I think it needs to be that it is just for Ashland residents, right? The funds are being raised to support Ashland residents. I understand anything we do supports them as an Ashland business. And yes, they are a nonprofit, but they are still a business. And I think we want to support businesses, but in this regards, I think we have to say it's for Ashland residents to supplement.
Yeah, I mean, is that appropriate? Is it for us to put that kind of qualification on it? I mean, I think it is, but I'm just.
Yeah.
I would say so.
I would say so.
Yeah, I would say
But
so.
especially when we advertise that the funding that's being raised by the runners, it goes to, you know,
Support
Ashland, you know, groups and
Programs.
organizations and programs.
Yep.
So if we alter that and change it, you'll have everybody and his brother doing the same thing. So I'd just be careful of that.
I mean, it's a good point for go forward, right? You know, when we're looking at the application again, you know, if you are, like, say we have nonprofits that support Ashland residents, you know, I want to see percentages, I want to see some sort of statistics around, like, you know, in what way, how many, et cetera, so that we can make the appropriate decision.
So, and she does say that they have received some applicants from Ashland already. And
I think.
by the
Thank
way, I think she's no relation to me, by the way.
Okay.
I don't even know her.
Okay, so
I just remembered that her last
so
name's
if I
Bennett.
can get a motion to give
$1,000.
neurodiversity support for children $1,000 in this grant round.
I'll second that.
No, you-
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with the understanding that if they want to come
Right.
back, they need to show how it was used for Ashland residents?
Yep.
Okay. One more, I think?
Yes.
Yep, 34, page 34.
Yeah, so this is veterinary chaplaincy services. And so we had previously given them a grant, I think a year
much?
ago, 4,000.
Okay.
And they used it for doing basically a support line for people to be able to call and for them to be able to staff when people have pets that are either sick or have passed away, and they're it's like chaplaincy for folks who are grieving the loss of a pet. And when we first talked to them, we were talking about, you know, possible ways that they can connect to Ashland. So I had put Kelly in touch with Candy at the senior center, because I had said, like, you know, it could be a good connection to help our seniors if they have a pet that passes away. It might be a good support for them. I don't think that there was a connection quite that happened. And so there really hasn't been a lot of work done specifically in Ashland. She lives in Ashland, and she's been kind of connected to like Ashland Animal Hospital, but there's no kind of focus on how to connect with
With the residents.
the residents.
With Ashland residents?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's talked about, you know, maybe doing some work with the senior center, like, and that would be a way, and that she has done some work. Is she the one that's?
Well, I'll take a step, I'll take a page out of your book, Yolanda, and maybe offer $1,000 to this group, if it's gonna be something that's gonna be
Well,
based in.
except that we gave them money before, and there was no, from what it sounds like you guys are saying, there was no work done to specifically work in Ashland, right? That's what I'm hearing?
Oh, so the work that was done
So,
wasn't
so
based.
a year ago?
It's not
or-
focused, it wasn't focused
Okay.
specifically on
I-
Ashland. They
I
did a lot of
I didn't
good
hear
work
that.
with
Okay.
it.
Okay, yep.
You know, I think
gotcha.
they're providing a really good service.
It's a
And
great
and
service,
I think
but
this is another one of those, I mean, we've had some of these philosophy discussions about this program many years ago, right? That the program, the goal of the grant money is to help as many people as possible. So bigger sports organizations, bigger programs that support a lot of students or a lot of seniors. And also, are we allowing, you know, some of these are businesses, and yes, they have their 501(c)(3)s as a business, but we're then we're paying the business to do their work.
we need to refocus that.
And yes, again, it's a 501(c)(3), they can make profits, but it's like, I think not for tonight, but I think we need to have a further discussion about, even though they're a 501(c), what is their purpose? And are we paying to allow more students to participate, right? Like we're giving the Metro West Y $3,000, but that's that they could offer scholarships for Ashland students to attend camp, right? So they're not getting paid, they're using our funds to allow residents to use their services.
Right.
And granted, that's what this is as well, but it's not specific to Ashland.
Yeah, what I would like to see, I think, with an organization like this is maybe the money comes through the senior center or through social services, and that they actually receive the grant, and then if there are people who,
Want the services.
yeah, and I think Brandy and I talked a little bit about, the senior center would seem to be a likely place where if a senior loses a dog or a cat or a pet of some sort, that it could be traumatic for them and difficult, because it might be,
The companion.
a companion,
Yeah.
right? So, not that everybody doesn't have dogs that are companions, but it might be a little more traumatic for a senior. And
Who's
that,
living on their own or something.
yeah, so, maybe if they wanted to arrange something with the senior center, work with them and then the senior center came forward and asked for a
If they
grant,
could do that.
Yeah.
right, to work with them, then we would know that it was
I
going.
would entertain supporting that fully.
Well,
completely,
and what I would
like that.
say is, let them do some work and
Yeah.
apply again in the fall.
Yeah.
And if they show, and again, the senior center would then have to be willing to support that and do
Yeah,
that.
of course,
and,
of course.
Because
We're giving them
we don't
added
want to,
work,
we don't
yeah.
want to give them additional work without them understanding or them saying, yes, this is something.
Yeah,
we
no,
can
I know.
support."
I mean, an alternate, an alternate way to look at it also is to basically, if we want to give them a grant, we do similar to like what you've done with the Y, right? You say like X number of dollars is specifically for Ashland residents who are grieving a pet. And that widens things too, because even though yes, seniors absolutely 100% need this service, but there may be some other folks too in town that may need it. So I just wanted to voice that possibility
I mean,
as
we
well.
could, I'd be willing if we could put that sort of stipulation on it now to give them $1,000 too. I mean,
If we can, I
and
mean,
then, but it
Well,
has to be for
Yeah,
Ashland.
Ashland only, but-
I'd like to see there, because did we ask them details about what happened with the first fourth? Because typically, if someone has received a grant, we then
You
have
ask
to
where
get a
those funds
write-up
went.
Right.
as to how they use those $4,000. Did we get that information from them?
So it's really staffing this, like, support line, and they do, like, support groups, so they have group,
oh, yeah.
So there's no data as to how many Ashland residents
they
participate.
they haven't collected,
Yeah.
like, where people are calling from, and that's,
It's interesting. I would
Yeah.
think, well, anyway, I think we could, like I said, they would have to collect that information
Yeah.
if we were to give them the money to provide those services to Ashland residents. If that's something that they're comfortable doing, then I'd feel comfortable giving the funds. But if that's something they're not comfortable doing, then
So I think a recommendation I would have is, rather than give them more funds that we don't know if they can track, is go back to them and say, we support what you're doing, but we really want it to be focused toward Ashland. Is there a way for you to
Yeah.
track this as data so that you can support and say, yep, you've given us these funds
Yeah.
and so many Ashland, and then see if it's doable, and then decide whether or not we give them more funds.
I think that's fair.
Don't have a problem with
Yep,
Work? Okay,
okay with it too.
that.
okay,
That works.
good discussion. Thank you both for,
Yeah.
I know this is a
Thank you
tough
very
one.
much for all the time and effort.
yeah.
I know it's not simple.
And it's like, again, we want to be able to help as many organizations as possible. It's just,
But we now are down to 70K, so, and Susan, have we received all of our funds in for this round of BAA numbers?
We have a very little bit that,
Okay,
we have a couple stragglers, but the majority of it we have.
okay, stragglers. Okay, good,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Susan. Okay. Any other discussion on this item, folks? No? Okay.
Thank you
again,
for all the work.
Brandy And yes, Brandy and Claudia, thank you for doing that. I know it's a lot. Not on the agenda, but real quick, Joe and Claudia Scholarship Committee?
Yes,
We don't announce it until after graduation, but I
Correct.
just wanted to,
we'll be getting the information this week.
okay.
Yeah, I talked to
Call.
Susan
And have
about
you
it
let
today.
Susan know who's attending class day on that
Yes.
Friday?
Well, now that the election process is over.
Joe was
yeah,
waiting to
I'll
be
there.
elected.
I'll be there.
Good
He
for
was, he
you.
was worried.
Everything was hinging on last night, so.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, moving on our agenda. Discuss and vote on the acceptance of the surplus disposal procurement policy. We've read through this once. I think
Twice,
there might
3
have
times.
been tweaks or not to
I
this.
see there have been some edits.
There have
Yeah.
been some edits.
Okay.
Okay.
And I know a particular concern was data sanitation methods.
That's right,
yeah. Yes.
And so I believe you'll see that under Section E, of procedures, and also the approved methods of sanitation, and then also who is authorized to carry out that work. So hopefully that satisfies everybody's concerns. And
I'll say that I was very happy to see Section E and the detail that was provided in that section. That pretty much satisfies my concerns over that. So thank you for adding that, and thanks for getting that done.
Good.
Welcome.
Any other
I knew that
comments?
would
Yeah, it
put a
was good to
smile on
see
your
that.
face.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this surplus disposal plan?
No, I think did a great job getting it done and tweaking it so that way, especially with the IT information, that's
Yeah.
kind of.
yeah, I know, Jen and Diane and Paul,
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if you had a chance to jump on these yet, but I think
They
a lot of eyes have been on it.
They
so-
will.
Good, good, okay. If I can get a motion to support this updated
So moved.
surplus disposal
Second.
procurement. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. That passes. Thank you all
Thanks for all the
to,
work.
who worked on it and tweaked it with our input. We appreciate that.
And just, you guys will update the date on it, because it says
Yeah.
April 10th.
Yep.
You guys
Right.
will make it effective today?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
You have stuff to sign. I don't know if that's part of it, but the meeting. Okay, wonderful. Moving on, discuss liaison for Historical Bylaw Committee. As we all know, at town meeting, the historical bylaw came up. It did not pass. But I believe we all support it in some way. So one of the things that was discussed is it was said by committee members that if maybe a member of the select board had been more involved or had been sitting there, there might have been a different turnout. So I'm putting it out there for a discussion of if one of us could be the liaison, that when they meet and as they move forward, there's someone there sitting who's understanding and following it and come back to the report, to the board and tell us what's going on or what they think. Any
Yeah,
input or thoughts?
first off, I'd raise my hand to do that. Actually, I think it's a great idea. I think it's some better communication and coordination between everybody. I think that everyone here basically wants to see the same thing. I think that there are different opinions and approaches to getting that done. I think if we can work together to figure that out, and then bring it back to town meeting, I think we'll see a result that most folks will find satisfactory and preserve the character of the town while encouraging business to flourish and thrive. So,
Okay, other thoughts?
I think that's great, and if Makita is willing to do that, I think you would be the perfect person to take that on. I think that I completely support that. I also think that we had talked about this when the Historic Commission came here. We were talking about possibly, doing, and they were in support of maybe figuring out another source of, another mechanism for, historic preservation. And we were talking about possibly using CPC funds as sort of more of a carrot versus stick. I think there's probably a way that we can do a combination of, the historic district and then also, figure out funds to be able to support this. And I personally think that that's like an important part of it. If the businesses feel like they're supported and that there's funding to be able to say, okay, you know, Lunkers, like I was outside of Lunkers a lot this last weekend. And so, and I'm looking at those big windows and just the windows. I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if the owner of Lunkers wants to put in new windows, how expensive is that going to be if there is some sort of funding mechanism where we could help support that? Maybe they would, and it, you know, I'm not looking at like the business incentive program because that's kind of, I'm thinking that's a little separate from this. This is really specifically for.
Why would you think that? Because it's like a facade, right? I mean.
It is, but it's not. So if we had something very specifically for historic preservation, if we were able to talk to town council and figure out like how we can potentially do it, and if we can't do it through CPC, maybe we go the same route that we went when we did the business incentive program, because the business incentive program is really to bring businesses here and to improve their, you know, to be able to help them, not necessarily specifically for historical. I think the historical stuff is important too, but so maybe we do a home rule petition like we did with the business incentive program. Maybe we ask, you know, Senate President Karen Spilka had given us some funding to get that up off the ground. Maybe we figure out another kind of program like that to be able to help these businesses and support. It would be similar, but it would be separate. Because I wouldn't want to take away, because we don't have it like, it's not like we have this unlimited budget for the business incentive program and we want to continue to do that too, but maybe we can figure out something else and just be kind of.
The only concern I would have with that is I would hate like heck to see if we design or develop a program like you just mentioned with respect to the historical facade, and then the economic development business program that we have, and those two clash because, you know, I'll just for example, I'll use teller insurance. Destiny Teller Insurance. They want to put a new, you know, overhang up. Okay, well, if it's part of the historical district area, but yet they want to put a new awning in, does that meet the criteria of what's going to be required as a historical aspect of it? So they have the funding for that through the business incentive because they're already here, and that's what they've used in the past. Granted, they're already here, but if they want something new, no different than the barber shop when they wanted a new Anthony's Barber, they wanted to do that, the facade over. So, and I know they're working on getting that grant to do it. So,
Michael, you grab the microphone pretty quickly. I feel like you have something you want to.
There was a couple of things. So first of all, I think the ability to use CPC funds to benefit private businesses is a pretty slippery slope.
But we've done it here in town.
Yes, but certain conditions have to be met.
Okay, but, because someone mentioned that to me, and I'm like, we have, right? You know,
We've
we
done it
look
with
at
the telecom clock,
building.
but
We have
across-
2 clocks on there that were paid with CPC
Yes,
funds.
but if you look all across but we also remember that it was turned down for the Federated Church.
Right. Oh, I forgot that.
and
Yeah, I remember that.
For the stairs. And there
Oh, I
were
forgot
arguments
about
brought
that.
up against that, and there were,
That makes no sense.
It was ridiculous, really.
I didn't know if it was the right decision, but sometimes the right decision is not always the legal decision. The other thing I think we also have to take into consideration is the administration of such a program. That's
Right.
number 2. And number 3, I think we're in a place financially where we're talking about needs and not necessarily wants or extras. And we're talking about a program that I don't know of too many other communities that have. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but I do think we need to kind of look at the priorities of the community and what we're using our funds for. It could, I mean, depending on what happens in the future, CPC funds, it could be used, or maybe an option to use that for other, you know, other things, although it's very limited in what you can use it for. So
Yeah.
just a few considerations. I
So,
think.
so the Federated Church was before my time. Did that get denied by CPC, or who
It-
put the kibosh on that?
It got voted down at town meeting because a lot of the legal arguments that was put forward, the legal argument carried the day, I guess you could say. There were some competing legal thoughts.
Yeah.
I think the
could
town.
we-
It wasn't I felt as though that the presentation needed to be different. Yeah, because I don't think anybody would not have supported it had they thought about if tomorrow that building was in danger and the town had to step up and do it, I feel as though the town would do it. I mean, that's a historical building, you
Right,
know?
and we have 800, I think it's $865,000 in the historic bucket. So it's like, I'm thinking, could we talk to town council and get some guidelines and see if we
And
can?
that's where we'd have
I
to
think-
start, right?
yeah,
I mean,
because-
But I also, a couple things. One, and I don't want to get too much into discussion about what should happen.
Right.
But I think, the group needs to come back together.
Right.
I think if Makita is willing to be our liaison, the other thing that was brought up is rather than doing a historic district, you do historic properties, right?
Single
That's
use
been done, right? You go to, and you work with the business owners who own those historic buildings and say, okay, we'd like to put a historic restriction on your building, will you work with us? So those are, so that's the kind of.
I just wanted to say that, I did attend the public hearing for this and also communicated a little bit with them, so, and with some of these concerns.
Yeah.
So
Well-
I'm grateful that you want to step up and do that. But it wasn't that, and they did come before us. And it wasn't that
No,
we
no.
were totally ignoring them. I
No,
made
no.
actually some suggestions about.
No, I mean, I think, and as chair, this was one of the times where I was like, I am not gonna make us vote as a board, one way or the other, to support it. I really wanted it to go to town meeting so that the residents could say yes or no. Sometimes I feel like as a board, it's better to say, okay, because I think we all have different feelings about this, about the different programs, so I think it was best. So, but now, I think we want it to come forward in some other iteration. So Makita, if you're willing to be that liaison and bring stuff back, and as Claudia I went to at least one of their hearings, and I didn't go to, and I was hearing from some of the members about some of the input that was not being listened to, so.
Well, I think part of the problem, my personal perspective, was that by the time they got to the public hearing part, and by the time they came to us, it was fully baked.
Right.
And this was, we had the bylaw, like it was drafted. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
hard to have the discussion about what is the best approach, and is the businesses all on board with it, and getting all that to happen if it's already kind of baked in. And I get where they were
That's part of
coming
the
from.
process, though, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
sort of said to them, okay, go ahead and do
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
right? We could have stepped
So-
in sooner if we
Yeah,
didn't.
so I think like having a kind of a different, like, kind of not starting from scratch, but starting
No,
like
no.
from a, like, okay, what can we do to make this a better process?
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
is,
yeah.
Yep.
because we do want something successful that's going to work, but we also want to be able to clearly articulate what that looks like and what the process looks like and what the impact is going to be, and have the businesses that are going to be impacted say, okay, all right, like, I get it, and we'll be partners in this, so.
It's definitely a continuing discussion. Claudia, hold on.
sorry.
Were you thinking that you wanted to be the liaison?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But I
just
I
wanted to
did
be
want
sure.
to, no,
I
If
just
you
wanted to
do,
be
I
sure.
mean, yeah.
Rock, paper,
And
scissors.
there's nothing, we could, there's nothing preventing you from actually, from us working together on this
Yeah,
too.
no,
Like,
that's
and
true.
I
Well,
think we should do that.
We don't want to official assign
But
two people,
exactly.
because then it's a subcommittee.
I
and
know,
then
I
you-
know,
you
I know. But I'm
all
just
that
saying,
fun
it's
stuff.
not being exclusive or anything like that, but.
no, I'm glad you jumped in.
Okay.
But I do want to just say again publicly that these folks did a tremendous
Oh, they
amount
did.
of work.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
And it's so hard to know how hard people work and then you go to town meeting
Yeah.
and you
Or a
can't
ballot.
put it
Yes.
over the, or the ballot, and you can't put it over
Yeah, no,
the
we get
finish
it.
line,
And
so.
then Michael has one clarification for
Yeah,
us.
I remember what the rule was, which was you can use public CPA funds for private purposes as long as there's a public benefit. So I think the approach we'd have to take is how this would help lead to
Historic
historic
preservation is better for the
preservation, which
community.
would be a public benefit. That would be the legal approach, I think, without talking to council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
so potentially, okay,
And then if you do move forward with it, I would
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if you do move forward with it, I would suggest or recommend that you look at identifying like a certain amount of CPC funds
Right.
Yeah.
each year.
Yeah.
You know, like 50K or something each year that would go towards
Okay.
the program. You know, similar to what we do with the economic development program and budget for
Yeah.
each year.
Yeah, okay, is it something that, like, because I'm just thinking, like, if we have this, like, you know, if we're looking at it from both perspectives of, like, being able to do both things, like the historic district and, you know, some sort of CPC funding mechanism, I think that might help. If we bring that together at the same time, is what I'm saying. I think it's important to have that as a,
Well, yeah,
like
and
a
then another thing I
program.
also think we should remember, I thought probably the most compelling argument on behalf of the Historical Commission was actually made by the last speaker, who talked about actually living in a home that was in a historic district, who had to make improvements herself to her property, and really did not find it to be that onerous process or an expense. And so I think as you're thinking about subsidies for this type of stuff, that should also, like, I mean, is a subsidy actually required?
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are just the thoughts I would put forward.
Is it something that you think that you want to talk to town council about? Is it something that we should talk to town council about?
I mean, I don't mind, I think we can do that.
Okay,
And
start
I
that
think also, I mean, I think once we reconvene, there are going to be some other ideas. We want to kind of open up the discussion around some other ideas. So there's going to be some, I predict, like, there'll be some ideation, there'll be some more suggestions, you know, so I think folks watching this or listening to this right now shouldn't think that, oh, this is how we're going to solve this.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is a
no.
discussion, this
Right.
is something that we're going to have to work on together. This is an option, a possibility that we can explore, but we really have to get some of these ideas out on the table, kind of figure out, you know, how we're going from there. So I suspect, I say all that to say that I suspect that we'll be talking to legal counsel quite a bit over the next few months.
It's,
about this
CPC
issue.
funds could just be another tool in the toolbox.
Exactly.
To make this project happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Out of many. So,
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
A lot of the discussion, something positive will happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, wonderful. Moving on, we have I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't think so. I think, you know, I don't think we need to take a vote. I think she's offered to do it, and, yeah. Yeah, thank you for checking, yeah. Okay, update on the 40B projects. We have 3 of them now here in front of us. 2 are moving a little bit further along. 1, the comments are due by the end of May, and at our seats when we came in were the draft comments letter from 2 organizations for the newest 40B project. But Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I will briefly mention 10 to 60 Main Street and 61 Waverly. I know with 10 to 60, so for those who are unfamiliar with the process, you know, the applicant submits plans, the peer reviewer has an opportunity to review those plans and provide comment. The applicant then has the opportunity to address those comments either by making the requested changes or providing a response. I think if you look on the website, the planning website, which Alvaro has done a great job of updating and making sure all the latest documents are up there, I think you will see the applicant's response to the peer review letter for both the traffic concerns in the peer review report as well as the civil peer review report. So I think you'll see those. In 61 Waverly, I think they've just started that process as well. So there's a lot of information there. you know, I have not had an opportunity to really review the 61 Waverly one that much, but I have looked at the mill site quite a bit. Some of the responses, I appreciate the attempt to satisfy the peer reviewer's comments. And I think the peer reviewer has been satisfied with a few things. So I'd probably leave it at that. On the civil side, there's a couple of things that I think warrant a little bit more exploration, quite frankly. Namely, just some of the groundwater issues.
Yeah. Yep.
Specifically.
Well, if I can add to that, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, with respect to the 61 Waverly, the entryway has changed, and it's going to be closer to the intersection of East Union and Union. That. Yeah. The entryway has changed. So that's going to
Wait,
put.
since the first submission, the original developer? or-
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's changed from the original developer.
Right, changed from the
Yeah.
original
Oh,
developer.
yeah.
But not, this developer hasn't changed
No,
it.
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
No,
but he's
okay.
changed it.
Oh, because the original developer had
It
it
was the
on
other side of the
Waverly,
street, yeah.
Right, but now
Yeah.
it's
and now
not.
it's over by the high school.
That's correct.
Right, and it's like, the high school is here and their entrance is here. It's not
Correct.
even lined up that we can say, put a light in or anything. It's, yeah,
Well, that's
that's
it, but now that's gonna cause an issue, because we're gonna discuss it tomorrow at the
at
traffic
your
study
traffic
committee.
safety committee.
So that's gonna become an issue. And I know what the comment's gonna be. You know, you're gonna have to redesign that intersection. Well, not at $2 million, we're gonna redesign an intersection. You don't
Not
have that
our
money.
not our intersection. Why would that have to be redesigned? They should have to redesign their entrance and exits.
Well, I don't wanna get into a large
Okay,
discussion of this
yep.
right now, but I can tell you that that's been a concern that was brought up. And as other matters have been brought up with respect to that. So if you wanna join our meeting tomorrow, because it's gonna be quite, colorful.
I think Beth might have a little insight. 'cause
Sure.
I know she's.
So I've been following these projects, and 61 Waverly, they did match up their entrance on, to match with the high school.
Oh, okay.
They did,
So,
okay.
yeah, let's touch base with Alvaro first thing in the morning
right,
then, before
okay.
your meeting. I know they did line those up because that was a concern. They did change their entrance on the other side onto Framingham. Maybe that's,
That could be the.
that,
Okay.
yes, that has changed. And there are, off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I believe it's a right turn only. Don't quote me on that, but
Okay,
that has changed on the other side, on the Framingham side.
all right, I did not realize there was a right turn.
Yeah, so
Okay, I'll double check that.
check with
Okay.
him
And are
on
they-
that, but
are
I'm
they
pretty
adding-
sure those entrances did match up.
Are they adding some kind of light at the
They've not gotten there,
intersection?
though, I don't think. I
no,
don't believe
there's
so.
no
So
lights
they
there.
are, so 61 Waverly is just now starting their traffic. They've had like 1 or 2 meetings, I believe, on traffic only. That is the major focus right now, only for that project. 10 to 60 Main is almost completed with their traffic, and they are moving on to landscape architecture Tuesday. So Tuesday's meeting is the ZBA. Both of those projects will be in front of them as well.
Is there I'm sorry, Beth, is there an amendment to the traffic study that they've submitted? Are there tweaks to that traffic study?
For which one?
10 to
But
60.
1060 Main Street.
That I don't know.
But,
Joe, I think that, I think they made a few changes. Sorry. I think they did make a few changes based on the peer reviewers' comments.
okay,
Substantive, I think that's debatable.
yeah, okay, that's gonna be a
I
concern.
think they were looking at sight lines. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you're
Right,
thinking. So there
right.
are sight lines on that Myrtle, like
On
by
Myrtle corner,
Myrtle.
correct.
So they did address that. There was conversation about the building there and the sight line, but they,
Basically, so I wasn't able to attend that, but I haven't gotten entirely through it, but I got through most of the meeting watching it. And so they, basically, the developer said they've done what they're gonna do. And if we want it moved or an additional sight line, then they're gonna take down the whole building.
yeah.
That was basically what he said.
And council pushed right back.
And council pushed back, which I was glad to see. And because right now, the sight line is a minimum.
It's, yeah,
And you know, he said there's no way that they're ever going to change the entry and exit to align with Pleasant Street because it would be cost prohibitive, which is,
So that's.
makes
so that
sense.
cost- Right, so that cost is gonna be a burden to the
Well,
town.
it might be cost prohibitive for the number of units that they want to.
Yeah.
So that, there was definitely a little, it got a little contentious. And then, you know, Waverly Street, have you seen the videos? I have not watched the videos from Mr. Johnson. Are you getting those emails?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes, I am.
You've got those, okay.
Yeah, so, because he has
The
submitted
traffic
some.
concerns that he
Yeah,
has?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and he sent some videos too.
Yes.
Okay, all right, just to make sure, because I think that, you know, it's important, and I try to work out a time to go over there and stand on the corner and take some videos of maybe cars trying to take a right-hand turn or whatever, but there's certainly, but I have grave concerns with 10 to 60 Main, and I know now they're coming with, around the groundwater issues, and I did write a significant email in terms of outlining what are we doing here, right? It's in a floodplain. We're living in a time where, you know, we don't, the 100-year storms happen much more
Every year.
frequently.
Yeah. a year,
Yeah, and yeah, it's just crazy to.
Tomorrow will be a good,
I was just gonna say,
potentially a good indicator
It's-
of what happens.
It's crazy to say that we're gonna have a manager on site that, and that our, I think it was our actually consultant who said that, you know, the good news is we get a couple of, there would be notice about that kind of a storm, so that you would have time to get people to move their vehicles out. Okay, you're gonna get,
Where do they move to?
yeah,
Yeah.
where are they gonna
Where are
move
they gonna
to?
go?
And that's how.
And you're gonna get everybody out, and then at what point do you say, okay, we gave you enough time, now we're gonna tow you out?
Yeah.
And then, you know, my concern too is if you bring that kind of floodwater into that, you know, what are you gonna do to the surrounding properties, right? What is gonna be unleashed from the Superfund site aspect of it?
So where are they gonna pump that water? In the
you know,
Sudbury River?
And is it going to then make that unlivable for another 100 years? I mean, the concerns are just, and so one question I had about all of this is, what exactly does the ZBA get to push back on? Because so far, I haven't felt that kind of, and I get no warm and fuzzies from them.
I'm not getting any warm and fuzzies from a consultant who was doing the traffic
Yeah,
study. I have some issues with him. Sorry, I have to.
Our
I have to-
consultant,
I have to say it like it
Yeah.
is,
our
yeah.
peer reviewer, or?
A consultant.
Everything's like at a the minimum
Yeah.
standard.
He doesn't go, he doesn't take it to the highest level that he should and then work down. It's hard, it's a lot harder to work up than it is to work down. But, are you kidding me? And I sat there and listened to them and I said, and he represents us? I'm sorry, and he may be a nice guy and everything, but I don't think he's doing justice to this town. Sorry, I have to say it out loud.
But, so what, would you just,
what can
in
they
terms of
push
the
back on?
ZBA, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think, if you don't mind, if I could rephrase that, what can they push back on successfully? You know, they can push back on anything, right, at the local level. Of course, this is a chess match, so you've got to think about, okay, if I put in this condition or if I deny it, it gets appealed to the HAC, HAC. What an appropriate. Sorry. You know, what is going to be successfully upheld there? And so, you know, there's three specific pushbacks where you could be successful at the HAC. One is life-threatening safety issues, basically dramatically negative environmental changes, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the third, but it's not as solid, I think, as the other two. And so I think where our peer review consultants who advise the ZBA, where they kind of get stuck is with their professional licensure and everything, like, if the Uniform Traffic Code says that this is the minimum sight line, they kind of have to say, well, yes, it does meet the minimum sight line. It might not be the best, clearly, obviously, or it's not what we want, but they might be limited in terms of what they can say. It's difficult. It's difficult, Claudia.
What about something as simple as parking, for example, right? Our town bylaws says two spaces to a unit. And
Yeah, it's
yet
like-
they don't have 2 spaces to the unit, so that's okay?
So that's a waiver. So the parking is associated with our bylaws.
But
right?
isn't, because it's a 40B, isn't there a way for them to not have to use our bylaws, but use
exactly-
the state parking bylaws? And at the state right now, they're looking to even diminish, I mean, it hasn't passed, but they're looking to diminish the number of parking spaces per building. So I think even though we might have a bylaw that says 2 per unit, if at the state level it's not that, then they have to find that in between, is my understanding.
Well, even if it's not something at the state level, the fact that it's just a local bylaw means that
Right.
as a 40B, they can
That they
go
can
around
go
it.
They can
around
go
it.
around it. Right.
But I just think even though that's what they can do, I don't think we should just ignore these things, right? I think it needs to be raised. I think on some level, it's how many things are wrong here, or how many things are we having to waive? At what point if you have to waive everything, at what point does it reach a threshold where it's
Right.
just not, it just doesn't make sense? So I just don't want, just because something, I get it, that they can, because it's a 40B, that they can ignore a lot of, our requirements in town, but I just don't think we should just pretend that that doesn't exist, that it is indeed, above and beyond what we would allow.
It's kind of late now, but it's time to start, hitting up the legislature about tweaking, the 40B rules and regulations to help the local municipalities throughout the state, where they have to follow certain guidelines and certain bylaws that each city and town has within the Commonwealth.
Well,
So
I
they
think-
provide protection. Why have bylaws then if they can just say, oh, we're going to put a 40B in because we want to, forget about what we need to do.
Well,
what we have to do.
Remember, the goal of
affordable housing.
40Bs is to increase affordable housing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Community-
great.
Hold on, communities that have met their 10% are not dealing
You
with
sound like
this.
Jack now.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, I mean, I agree. The 40B, the whole process, what it does is not equitable, it's not right, it's not, but that doesn't, the goal is affordable housing. And as we've said before, what we're dealing with is, we did everything right. We had we had our housing production plan, we had things in the pipeline, and then because those things fell through, not because of what we did, but because of those projects, where the 40B process needs to be looked at is, if a community is doing these things and something happens, can they still be given some kind of timeline to get those things back in place? That's what needs to be addressed, because
Okay, but
just
that's
by
still-
saying.
What
get
needs to
rid-
be addressed is that 40B has been on the books since 1969. And where are we in terms of having done something for our housing crisis? We're
Certain
nowhere.
certain communities are at their 10%. Certain communities.
They're at 10%, but what have we done for the state? How has that impacted the state in a positive way in terms of housing?
The first 20 years it did great, but the last 20 years it hasn't done much.
Okay, well, then it's not doing much. And the other thing, even Gavin, there's a commercial now, and it says it isn't just about building housing, it's about making it affordable.
Right?
Right? Making it affordable. And that's the key. That's the key. I mean, Michael says it, nobody's moving out of Massachusetts to go live in an apartment someplace.
Right.
Oh, no.
Right.
Well, and that's the other discussion, right? You talk to developers, And they like to do apartments because that's longer term profit.
Oh, I understand.
And, you know, but, and as we know, even affordable is not affordable, right?
Right.
The
Well, and-
Asher is just.
And the other thing, if the motivation is to make money, then that, you know, I think we're seeing that in our society all over the place. It doesn't necessarily help the people if that is the sole motivation, and that for a developer, that is the sole motivation.
And we got to remember, there's a balance there, right? Trying to make money is not a bad thing, it's how they're doing it. That's all.
And the only thing I would just add is that I think one of the reasons that Galvin is kind of pushing the affordable housing is because of the bond bill that was recently passed about affordable housing. And so it's really not clear, like, how towns can utilize that and take advantage of that.
Right.
And so so I think that that's a really difficult thing. I've asked that of our state.
remember
Yeah,
that,
and I haven't gotten a clear answer as to how we can actually utilize funds for that, because, you know, we've had this discussion, like, I mean, it's, the affordable housing discussion is real. Like, I would love to be able to create real affordable housing.
Right.
And, you know, we were just talking about that at the comprehensive plan meeting, and like Monday night, oh my God, that was only 2 nights ago. It's been a long week.
Actually, I thought it was
No.
5, 6 nights. Oh, no, that was the other
That was the
Yeah, the
other
other
one,
one.
yeah. But, you know, like, that's, you know, so that's a tough nut to crack, you know, really. And, you know, my question is the ZBA, my big worry is that, you know, they have so much on their plate right now with all these projects. And we have these peer reviewers, and I think we're relying very heavily on the peer reviewers to do the lion's share of the work for this, and which I think is the right thing to do. But, you know, to Joe's point and to Claudia's point, like, we have to make sure, like, the peer reviewers are advocating in the best possible way, because the ZBA is, I mean, I haven't watched all the meetings. I've watched a good number of them, but not all of them. And I don't find like the ZBA is the one asking the hard questions.
They're not.
And which I think they're relying heavily on the experts, which they could do. But I'm waiting for like the hard questions from ZBA. And so, I mean, we've got to be able to
Or
ask.
Lisa, you know, somebody at the
Somebody needs to
table
ask
needs
the
to be
hard
asking the hard questions.
Okay.
So, because I just feel like I was disappointed with 10 to 60 Main Street about the traffic stuff. Like,
Disappointed I am.
not as disappointed as Joe, but I was disappointed. So, but, you know, because it's not even just, like, it wasn't even a discussion, what would it take to realign that intersection? It was like off the table because the peer reviewer wasn't making them do it.
Right. That was horrendous that night.
And the same thing, like, I worry about when we get into the civil stuff, when we get really into it, and it's like, okay, well, you know, are they meeting the threshold of the 100-year flood and what that looks like? And they were talking about parking at the MBTA station. Well, what's the reality of that? What are they really going to be able to, you know, can they actually do that? Do they actually have a plan for that? How are they going to evacuate that site? And not only that, but like, what's that, you know?
Can you imagine the traffic?
Yes.
If you're trying to evacuate all of those people.
Yes.
And I think it was our consultant who said, yeah, well, those types of storms, you have a couple of days to do that kind of thing. It's like, what are you here for?
So I just want to make sure that we're really asking those tough questions, because if we get to a point where ZBA is looking to condition the crap out of these projects, and I'm just using that as a technical term.
I like it.
I did too. I like that.
If we're looking to them to like condition the crap out of these projects and we haven't asked those tough questions, I don't think we would have anything to stand on. And I just want to make sure that we do.
Yeah, I mean, it would be tough to put that in a decision if you haven't even asked. a
Correct.
question.
Right.
So I'm hearing these concerns.
Bless you. And bless you.
Sorry. The ZBA is, their own entity. Is there anything we, as a select board, obviously as individuals, people have gone and have made statements and have stuff like that. Is there anything we can do as a board to encourage the ZBA, if we feel that's appropriate, to either ask some of these hard questions or to encourage the use of I don't know, a peer reviewer who is going to be a little tougher? Or is that something we can do? Or is it we have to do this as individuals and keep pushing them as individuals?
It's a good question.
That's something that we should ask legal counsel,
yeah,
what
I
our
think-
forte should be.
Yeah, I think there's a couple questions there. Talking about how the select board can support the ZBA in making sure that the right questions are asked. The second one is, can you switch peer reviewers midstream? And I don't know the answer to either one of those. I know they do have to vote on the peer reviewer at the beginning of the process, so I'll have to check on that.
Because my understanding is, at least the traffic consultant that we have, we felt that our peer review, our traffic consultant was a strong traffic consultant, is my understanding.
Very, very strong.
Very strong, a lot of experience, so it's surprising. I watched one of them. I haven't had an opportunity to see all of them. One of the first ones I saw, I felt like he was asking some good questions, so to hear that it hasn't stayed that way, it's a little discouraging. But I also know our ZBA is working very hard, so I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to make it sound like
Right.
they're not.
And there's a way, right, to say,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example, there's a way to say that, they legally meet the sight line, but it is at a bare minimum, isn't something I would, really recommend, blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
right,
There's a
right.
way to phrase those
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
he might have to say that
Right.
it meets the standard.
Right,
But
but it's not recommended.
editorialize a little bit here,
Right,
Right.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of the people that are going to be living in that complex. How are they ever going to get out of there? Like, honestly, and
They're all
maybe the
gonna have to
develop,
go right up Myrtle Street.
but.
Well,
it's-
that's the concern.
But it's
Oh, I know.
crazy. They're not going to be able to come out on the Main Street side and be able to go anywhere in the middle of rush hour traffic.
They'll be violating Mass General law.
So that's the one, Joe, you keep bringing that up, that according to Mass General Law,
Should
you
check on that, and I
cannot,
had it
you
written down.
cannot cross 2 lanes of traffic to make a left.
That's correct.
So
That is
why are we
absolutely-
So
not
it
ticketing the heck out
it
of
got brought
people
up at one of the
at
at one of the
intersection now?
hearings, but they were talking about the Myrtle Street side. The Myrtle Street side isn't 2 lanes of
No,
traffic.
no,
but
I understand
They,
that, but the
so
Main
I let
Street-
them not argue about it because they were correct. It didn't impact that section, but.
Right, it
It
doesn't
doesn't
impact Myrtle Street,
But
but
Main
you brought
Street.
that up a couple times. So part of me is like, we should have a police officer sitting there and we could be ticketing the heck out of these people, couldn't we?
Well, the
Because it's
thing is,
happening all the time
If you're
now.
taking a left out of there,
Yeah,
well, you're not gonna be, you almost can't do it anyways because there's too much traffic.
Correct.
I
But
mean,
you
maybe you
see
can
it.
do it at 10 o'clock in the morning, I
But-
don't know.
But my point is, Joe is saying that there's Mass General Law that
Right.
says you are not allowed to cross 2 lanes of traffic to make a left.
Right.
Turning left out of a driveway, and that's considered a driveway.
That's a
It's not
drive,
a
okay,
street.
so
that's just
again,
for
and this is for
verification.
maybe another discussion is, it happens all the time on at that. I see it all the time.
Absolutely.
As I'm coming around from Pleasant Street, people taking a left to get in front of me.
And there's no sign that says no
No left turn, so anyway,
Right.
not that people listen
I
to
know,
those
no,
anyway,
no, right.
because,
So if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah, go
could I
ahead.
just ask you about 55 West
yes,
Union?
55 West Union, okay.
And how, do you want to send me, some comments that you may have? Look, I will be very, very candid. I was a little surprised about just, what I had received from other, boards and
Yeah,
committees
yeah,
or what have
not,
you.
not much.
But I will, and this is the candid part, I think, personally, and I think kind of my read of other people is, I think we've been so disappointed with Mass Housing's
Right.
treatment of our comment letters and some of the ways this has evolved that, you know, I think there's some of us who are like, why bother?
Right.
Just to be very, very frank.
Yeah.
Well, that's the feeling that I get, is that we do have this feeling of, you know, we're beat before we start. So I feel like we're not putting enough into it because we feel, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at the mass housing, that like this initial level, I mean, I think about how much time and effort we spent on the mill building one, and it was,
And then even the time and effort spent on 61
On
Waverly,
Waverly,
not quite
yeah,
as much
not
as the
quite
mill
so-
building, but
Right.
I think, yeah.
So could we just back up really quick? Because we haven't really discussed 55 West Union at all as a board. Could we do like a brief overview of what the project is and what it's looking to do and where it is in the process, et cetera? There wasn't anything in our packet about the project.
no.
I assume it's on the planning department's site. I've heard about it, but I honestly we haven't received any details.
No,
or
not
anything
that
about
I've
it.
seen. How many units is it? Could we just like get a little information like that? I can't remember. I didn't know.
Let me just
125?
make sure I get the right stuff. Yeah, unless you have it right on the top of your head.
Excuse me.
About to say, if you want to move on to the, do you want to move on to consent, and I'll.
Okay,
find
yeah,
out
while
from
you're
that,
looking
yeah.
that, and then we can look at that. Okay, while he's pulling that up, we have our consent agenda, which has a number of one-day liquor licenses. Susan, I noticed in the consent agenda, there are times for those one-day liquor license. Was there a reason for that? We don't need to do hearings for each of these, do we?
No,
Okay,
those were moved and they were originally up at the top and I never removed the times.
okay, wonderful. Okay, so,
Good, you answered my question.
yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I was wondering that as well. Great. So we have a number of the one in the consent agenda, and I believe there's only one or two of them that's new. Most of them have been at the farmer's market before. So basically what it shows is the dates that they're gonna be at the farmer's market, and they have to have so much, there's certain information that they need to have, and I believe it was all in our packet to
Yes.
support these. Okay, so if I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Farmer's Market, you are all set with those. And while Michael keeps looking, I'm gonna ask, are you here for a special reason or just listening? Oh, well, you come up to the
Come on
microphone.
up
Tell
and
us about
introduce
spice
yourself.
water.
Yeah, introduce yourselves and thank you for being here
Bring
and
any samples?
not in town hall.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Only kidding, only kidding.
It's nice to meet everyone.
And your name
I know all the paperwork's in there and all of that stuff is good, but we have some friends that live here in Ashland for a very long time, and they've had a lot of great things to say about the market. So when the opportunity arose this year, or arose, to allow farmer breweries and farmer distilleries to become a part of this, we decided that, you know, this was one of the places we wanted to start doing. So we're in several other markets around the town, this area. We've Hopkinton, here, Marlboro. We're in Millbury. We're in Grafton. So we're very happy about this. We want to get a chance to get our name out there. We've been open for about 2.5 years now. And during that time, we've created over 16 different types of spirits in our lineup. Some of them we don't have right now, like our maple flavored rum, but we do plan to bring that back. We have 5 actually international award-winning spirits already. Some of them we'll bring with us, which is our Elm Street Limoncello. So it's a traditional Italian limoncello that is The name is based off of where we are in Millbury. We have a full tasting room there, as well as all of the products that we serve. So what we plan on doing is keeping in, making sure that we're following the law as we should with the ABCC. All samples will only be a quarter of an ounce from us, but some of the things that we can do is we can add a little bit of flavor to it. Like, for example, our agave spirit, which is our version of tequila made completely in Millbury with organic agave nectar. One of our fastest selling things. Like, we've sold 60 bottles in the last 3 weeks, and we've only had it for 3 weeks again. So, but we'll add like a splash of margarita mix in there, just so that people can have a chance to see what it's like in something. Of course, they can try it on their own as well. We're also very active in the Blackstone Valley Chamber. So we like to make sure that we're connecting with other businesses as well as individuals. So I'm glad to see that Bliss Point Meadery, Jeff and I met when we were doing the Brew the American Dream with Sam Adams. So we're both alum of their program. Learn a little bit more how to do business, how to run, advertising, those kind of things, which is part of what we're doing here. As well as Rushford and Sons. We're actually collaborating on a few projects coming up.
Nice.
So I think you'll find that the three of us will work really well with the farmer market. Any questions anyone has or any kind of concern, bring it up to us right away. We want to make sure things are done correctly.
Perfect. Great. It's nice to see some new businesses and
Yeah. Oh, thank
coming
you.
to our
Yeah,
farmers
welcome.
market, so thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
And I am actually hard of hearing. So if anybody does have questions, please let me know, speak up, and it's always good.
Great.
I've been able to get through it 52 years now, so I'm good. Know how to work.
Good. Well, thank you for
thank
spending
you.
the time here, and we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at the farmers market very soon.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
welcome.
welcome.
And you
Welcome.
said your first
That's
name
great
is
to meet you.
Barry? Is it,
Barry?
is it Barry?
Yeah,
Okay,
Barry
thank you.
Bacon.
Thank you.
Great.
Worcester. I grew up in Worcester, and then Millbury, and then been here all of my life. So
Nice.
both my boys are now, and one's at WPI, the other one graduated from University of Maine.
Nice.
So you'll see on there the application that my wife and my 2 boys are also tip certified.
Wonderful.
That
We
they
love a
very
good
much
family
know.
business.
That's it.
Love a
Very
good
business
family
then.
business.
Right.
Love
And
a
even a
family
couple of
business.
our employees that are there are lifelong friends I've known since middle school and high school.
There
Fun.
you go.
Great.
It's awesome.
Good.
Does your distillery, do you have, do you invite guests to come to your distillery and?
Oh, yeah.
And view it, yeah?
Yeah,
That might be fun.
definitely.
That might be a
Now,
fun trip.
Road trip.
Road trip.
We'll have our menu there so you can get a chance to see what we do at the distillery. Some amazing things. Crazy one is, we call it the New Englander. Doesn't sound like you want to drink it, but it really is good. It's gin with Moxie and Worcestershire sauce in it. Sounds weird. So when
That
you
does
put it
sound
together,
weird.
Actually tastes like a sarsaparilla.
Oh,
It's very
wow.
nice.
Okay,
beer.
all right.
And then,
Homemade beer.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
A kick to it, for sure. Definitely has a kick to it.
Good. Well,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Appreciate
all
it.
right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Great to meet you.
Okay. Let's go back to 55 West Union. Michael?
Yeah, so thank you for that little reprieve. So the project itself, it's 116 units on a little shy of 5 acres. It's off of the MBTA, Memorial Drive, across from the Dunkin' Donuts. 87 units would be market rate, 29 units would be income restricted. 72 units would be 1-bedroom units, 32 units would be 2-bedroom units, and then you would have 12 3-bedroom units. I believe it's 52 feet, 4.5 stories. And I'm giving you basically a very, very high-level overview of this.
Michael, I apologize. Could you just give me those numbers again for the 1- and 2-bedroom units?
Yeah, the unit counts?
Yeah.
Sure. It's 72 1-bedroom units,
Yep,
32 2-bedroom units,
yep. 12,
and 12 3-bedroom units.
thanks.
And so I think probably the best way forward.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
What's the breakdown? You said that how many were income restricted, and of those, do we know what bedroom counts those are? Or?
Sure. Just let me do a little math on the fly here. It's very scary. So just with the affordable units, all of them are at 80% AMI. So you would have 18 one-bedroom units, 8 two-bedroom units, and then 3 three-bedroom units. Those would be affordable, the affordable ones.
What, number 3 again? I'm sorry, what
3.
was the number? 3?
And you know what? I'm going to send this to you.
Oh, okay, great.
I'll send you the application, I'll send you the architectural plan set. And then if you do have some comments, if you want to get them to me, I know it doesn't give you a lot of time, but on Monday, I can assemble something to send to Mass Housing on Wednesday. That'll give us a little time.
And I'm assuming that the entryway to this project will be off of Memorial Drive?
Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Monday is a holiday.
Yep. Memorial Day weekend.
If you want to send it to me on Tuesday, we'll make
There you
sure
go.
that we get it
Sounds
done.
good.
Sounds good.
We'll make sure we get it done.
Okay, any other?
It might not be Thoreau, when we finish writing it, but,
You're using Thoreau now to write things, not, you
yeah,
mean thorough?
no, Thoreau.
Thoreau.
I'm saying it won't be as good as Thoreau's.
Oh, okay, okay.
That was probably the wrong author to pick.
Yeah,
because
probably.
You
Yeah.
could confuse
Yeah.
that with Thoreau pretty quick.
How about Longfellow?
So, sure.
There you go.
Okay.
Sure.
You know how many parking spaces for that one? How many parking spaces?
That was good.
180,
I needed
184
that laugh, yeah.
surface parking spaces, which equate to 1.58 per unit.
And no commercial, correct? It's just straight housing.
Just straight housing.
So, oh, I was just gonna say, so the project is being done by John Dudley here in town. And he wasn't open to doing any sort of commercial?
When I chatted with him, he said there is a Dunkin' Donuts across the street, so it's not like I'm gonna put a coffee shop in it. The YMCA is gonna be opening a little bit further down the road. They're gonna have a gym, they're gonna have childcare. He said there's gonna be co-working space in the basement of the building, and he felt that that was the best use of the space. Rather than trying to add commercial, he also owns the property across the street where he's gonna be looking to do some commercial. So he felt that for this particular property, to make it.
Across the street as in the eastbound side of 135?
Yes,
On
Yeah.
that small parcel in the corner.
yep,
Is that co-working space going to be like something that the community can rent?
potentially. He's like,
Okay.
that's something he's open to.
Because that's a resource that we don't really have in
Right.
town right now. So that's.
That's something he's open to, that it's, space that people could go
Okay.
and sit there and work.
Yeah,
He was open to that.
okay.
Yeah, so we can, I should also point out that Mr. Dudley had also indicated that although he is moving forward with the mass housing process, what the intention was, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, Yolanda, was that he was doing that just to basically secure the place in line, but he's willing to delay the opening of the hearing by several months in order to let a couple of these other projects play out.
Yeah, he had called me and indicated that as well.
Yep,
That he intended to be a friendly 40B.
yep.
So I would say, like, I get that, my personal perspective, and this is my personal perspective. I like John Dudley. He's a great guy. He's done a lot for Ashland. But a friendly 40B is, the notion behind it is that it is in partnership with the town, and this is not, in my opinion, a partnership with the town. So, so I would just personally not use that phrase. I know he wants it to be a good working relationship, which I completely get. I also know that, he's trying to get in before we hit safe harbor. So, so there's that too. So, we're trying to, the problem is that all these 40B projects are going to hit at once, and we're trying to manage the services and the growth of this community and trying to respond appropriately, and it's gonna be a tough go of it. So, so while I respect his decision to file this, because if he files, when he puts in his application through Mass Housing, that's what starts, so like, even if we would hit safe harbor,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, because he started the process with Mass Housing, correct? So, yeah, which is why he put in the application when he did. Because if we do get these projects through ZBA, we will hit safe harbor.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
it's not on the agenda, but it's part of the 40B projects that we've been discussing. UGC, do we have any idea where that status is right now?
No,
Haven't heard anything.
have not heard.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
that's a bit frustrating.
So the land court decision hasn't come down yet?
No, and those, you guys went in for those hearings in March, February?
Yeah.
Something like that?
February or March, and the indication that we had received from the judge was that a decision was pretty imminent.
Something
Wow.
must have happened for them to have to wait.
Yeah, and I didn't get any, I haven't received any
Yeah,
update
follow-up.
either from UGC's attorney
Yep.
or town council, so
Okay.
that is something.
Wow, is that something we could follow up on?
Yeah,
I mean,
so it's just,
Oh, definitely. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Appreciate
not a
that.
problem. Okay, moving on, town manager reports. Michael?
thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to start off with the local election. So first of all, congratulations, Joe and Brandy,
Thanks.
on your reelection. And congratulations to everybody who ended up gaining a seat on the respective boards or committees. I think most everybody running was an incumbent for all of the seats except for planning board, I believe. And so congratulations to Camillo and Scott for as they embark on their journey. Oop, bedtime. Sorry. As
You
they
wanna say a motion to
embark on their
adjourn?
planning board careers. We ended up having 548 voters, so about 4.2% local turnout. The last day to register to vote was May 9th. Really have to give credit to Cindy and Christopher and their staff, their respective staff, and the poll workers. You know, you see a lot of the same poll workers year after year. It's a long day for them, even the ones who are doing it as shifts. And, you know, Cindy and Christopher do a great job of organizing them, and they just go in there and plug in and do the hard work. So many thanks to them. And again, congratulations to the winner, and we'll continue to work on winners, and we'll continue to work on turnout. Moving on to town meeting recap, unless anybody has any questions about the local elections. So we ended up with 234 registered voters at town meeting, which is more than what we've had more recently. And again, congratulations to everybody who came out, and you know, if you were supporting certain things and it was successful, again, congratulations. Some of the comments about the local historic commission, I hope they take some solace in the fact that, you know, it was a high bar, meaning that it was a 2/3 vote, and you know, they actually did have more than a simple majority of people vote in favor, but it's tough being so close sometimes.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah. But, you know, other than that, everything else went relatively smoothly. Where there was discussion and debate, I thought it was pretty healthy.
And I know this happens every time, but I'm always so disappointed when an article, you know, that people are there for, and then they don't stay to finish out town meeting. It's just disappointing. We saw some people leave after one of the first or second articles, and then we saw a lot of them leave after the historical district. And I don't know, how can we encourage people to stay until the end and participate? Because there was some other discussion that was just as important, so.
And so, again, thanks to all the staff members and volunteers that put on the production that is town meeting, because it is quite a production, and they do a remarkable job.
I still think we need blue tablecloths.
Blue
instead of red
tablecloths?
tablecloths.
How about we just make sure I can change the screens?
change.
as well.
But
We'll start with that.
we make sure that we can project,
Yes,
because the projector wasn't working, and
Yeah.
Paul had to go and get something else, and
Yeah.
it still was a terrible,
You know, there's so many times in a day, I think we probably say, what would we do without Paul Carpenter?
right?
And it's town meetings where he really shines in front of a lot of people. I mean, he can make these things like magically happen. So again, and we'll now start the preparation for fall.
fall special.
Catherine will be leading that charge. Project updates?
Michael, one
Yes.
second, I'm sorry. To go back to voting, do you know how many people voted before Election Day? How many people voted in early days?
I think the first first early voting day was 38. Do you have?
There was only one early
oh,
voting day,
yeah,
right? It
so I
was
think-
Wednesday last week.
So I think it
I
was
think,
around
like,
38, or
I
that
thought
might
it
have
was
been when I
like
checked.
50-something.
Maybe the
I
38
think
number I got
last
was
night
when,
Cindy said like 50-some people did early voting.
Perfect.
I think I asked
Yeah.
her earlier in the day, before the day was finished.
Yeah, could have, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So just on project updates, I will start off with one that's actually not on this list. Cadillac Paint, or the Ashland Arboretum. So Becca Solomon and a number of volunteers, excuse me, I knew this would happen. I'm going to go back to the other agenda item. Thank you, Cindy. 55 voted early.
55 voted.
I had
funny.
I
I love it that she's watching.
I know. She told me she was gonna watch, so
Oh, okay.
she's in it for the long haul tonight.
Yep,
She-
yep,
That's awesome.
55 early
she
voted.
is special.
That's great.
So, Ashland Arboretum, Becca Solomon, and a number of
Her weed warriors,
her
right?
weed warriors went and attacked the Ashland Arboretum, and using a big DPW truck, they hauled like 2 huge loads of invasive species that they had pulled out.
Wow. That's great.
On a Saturday. And, I think that's actually, it's probably it's just the latest example, I think, of our staff and volunteers working together after hours, if you will, to make something happen, make something special for the community. So we're looking forward to moving that forward. Do you have any other information on this weekend, Beth? Just kind of what they did or what they were?
For the cleanup?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I don't have like numbers of how much that they took out, but in 3 hours, they had cleared an area that was larger than they were expecting to. Trisha Kendall uncovered a tree that will now be Trisha's tree. So they were able to identify things that they were able to save in that area
wonderful.
and really clean out to really get started. There's obviously more work to do, but we do have a contract with the company that's going to start the Arboretum. We're meeting on Friday to discuss timing, but they're going to start the Tuesday after Memorial Day. And you'll see this spring, the pergola will be up, the benches will be in, but the amount of invasive species that need to be removed there and remediated, it will take a little bit more time this spring, so we'll probably plant everything in the fall is what we're thinking, just because we're up against the summer months, and that's not the time to plant, and it's too many items to risk losing in the summer heat.
So 2 questions. One, so the parking lot has not been open, right?
Correct.
So the park is not available yet to people.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
It's,
You can walk in.
you can, yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
neighbors use it all the time.
Yeah.
And then the question, how, if people were interested in participating in this invasive weekend, whatever, warrior, whatever Becca calls it.
Yep, the weed
how-
warriors.
The weed warriors.
Yes.
How would they get information or sign up to be notified of when that's happening?
Yep, they can contact the conservation
Okay.
department at Town Hall.
And we'll, we advertise that in
Correct.
the newsletter leading up to it, so
Yep.
if you want to join
How did I
in.
miss that?
One thing I think, you know, there's a lot of work being done I think in the town forest too with invasive species, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think it would be a good thing to put something in the newsletter about why it's so important to work
pull
on, to
invasives,
get rid
yeah.
of the invasive species, you know? Maybe it seems
Becca will
obvious.
love that. She will be happy.
You
to
know,
write something up
who
about
also
that.
love that is Mike Jones and Rob St. Germain.
Yeah.
Who I think is on their personal mission to eradicate
Invasive
barberry,
species.
which is a
Well, you know, and
invasive.
part of my motivation is I think people are saying, why are we spending money to do such and such and such and such, right? And now this in particular is volunteers, but I think it's important for everybody to understand sometimes why it's better to do this than to just let it go, right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's good. It's very
Yeah.
good.
The very short answer for those that are watching, invasive species take over and crowd out native species. And just because they have no known, predators in both the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, if you will. Well, I almost sounded like a biology major there, didn't I?
And what's interesting is plants that we sometimes think are native are not native to New England. So,
Yeah, and then Beth, if you want to continue, Beth had her first meeting with the Warren Barn group. If you just want to give an update on that, I'll let you do that. Yeah.
Sure. So that project is going full steam ahead. I met with the team. They needed to do just a few tweaks to the path and the parking lot, that small parking lot they're putting in for fire and safety. That was their main concern, was access to Henry's Place. So this will actually allow more access to that, just in case of any fires. So that's really great. So they pretty much have the plan set. They had a few little things that they needed the town's approval on as far as bollards go in front of the barn doors, because just to avoid having to put in an oil water separator, because you could actually fit a car in the barn. So there are going to be bollards, but they are really preserving the historical look of the building by putting in hitching posts. They look like old hitching posts. So they're doing a really great job on that. I think that project, I think everyone's going to be very pleased with the way that project comes out. So they're actually going out to bid in the next month or two, and they'll have it out for about 30 days, I believe. So they're looking to get started the end of the summer, fall.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
I know we were really close to signing off on the MOU, yeah. Is that
We
signed
have
now?
the lease, you mean?
Yeah.
The lease is all signed.
all
Yep,
signed.
that's all done.
I know that Jen was trying to get that done before she left, but I wasn't.
She did. Got it right under the wire.
And it's not on the agenda, but I did review the dog park MOU, sent that over to Beth. I think we're in good shape to move that one forward. Pond Street, I was able to hop on a call recently with Dennis Giambetti from Senate President Spoka's office, as well as MassDOT. I know, Beth, you probably were on the coordinating call on Wednesday with some of our team, but they're continuing to do the work, along various parts of the corridor. They had anticipated getting done, I believe it was in August, but Eversource needed to do some work just inside of, or Pond Street and going inside of Algonquin, which was going to take about a month. So instead of having them come in after the road's paved and all of that good stuff, they're going to go ahead and have them go in and do that work, I believe at the end of May. That's what they're anticipating. And so that would push the project out to September, so it'd still be a month, but at least they wouldn't be cutting into the new pavement.
Well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense, good.
So that's still scheduled to be completed
Every
in
time I
25.
drive on it, there's something else a little bit different. There's something else cleaned up. There's something else changed and moved, and
That is
so there is
something
still seeing progress.
that
Yeah.
Dennis and I did put some pressure on for was just the cleanup and the maintenance.
Yep.
I understand Northern Construction, which is the contractor, hasn't mobilized, but that doesn't mean that we should have to live with
Right.
that.
Right.
That's good, because I was asked a question about Pond Street specifically, and like, when is it gonna be finished? And people haven't seen a lot of activity, so I think they're wondering what the
Yeah.
timeline is really.
I can understand that. So yes, it's still anticipated to be done in '25. So, I mean, we have a number of projects that could potentially be done in '25. Cadillac Paint, the Warren Barn, Pond Street, Dog Park.
Dog park?
So, yeah, we could have a pretty productive '25, the second half of '25. Okay, and so just an update on open positions. So I will start first with the Director of Planning and Economic Development. We have been in interview after interview. So it has been a lot of time spent interviewing candidates for some open positions. I will have to say, though, we've gotten some really good candidates. And it's been great to hear why they're interested in applying, and you know, they'd like to know how busy we are. They appreciate that. But we hope to finish up the interviews for the Director of Planning and Economic Development this week, and hopefully extend an offer to somebody. And hopefully they would accept. And that would be great to get that done this week.
Very good.
So, and on the Assistant HR Director position, we have interviewed a number of candidates and extended an offer to one, and she has accepted. So that is, and her start date, and temporarily, we're kind of still working all of that out, is Tuesday, the 27th. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
That's right. You did say the 20th. Yes, it is next week.
Unfortunately, it's too late for that.
Yeah. So, so yes, here's the notification. And well, we just found out today. So, unless
Well,
have-
if you just found out today, then we could say, based on that, we could handwrite it and add it and approve
Yeah.
it, right?
For sure.
Okay. I would like a motion that would allow us to vote in a 14-day waiver for the new assistant HR.
And what is this person's name?
Yep.
Katie Cool.
Katie Cool.
Yes.
COO or KOOL?
KUHL.
Cool.
Okay, so a motion to waive the 15-day waiting period for
Aren't you
Katie
glad I brought
Cool.
that up?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We added that to our agenda because we just found out, so this is definitely where
Needed to get
items
that.
might be added that were not expected.
Correct, absolutely. And it's important to get that.
It's very
so.
important, we want to be able to start. Wonderful, okay.
And so we are also interviewing for the assistant town planner as well, with the hopes that if everything line up right, we'll have a director of planning and economic development at least accepted, and potentially could do some interviews as well, like a second round.
Nice. Good. Okay.
Great. And then yes, we also have the open position of Director of Prevention and Human Services. Catherine,
Oh.
would you like to give an update on that?
Sure. So we have started interviewing for that position as well. We interviewed a couple weeks ago, and then the director was out of the office for a couple weeks, so we're going to start that back up hopefully within the next week or so.
And this is replacing someone who's leaving, or?
Kristen French.
Kristen French.
Kristen is
And there's
moving.
there's planning to be an overlap, right? Before she officially leaves?
Yes, so Kristen is staying on in a part-time capacity to help us, and also to help us with the interviews as well. And then hopefully there'll be a little bit of overlap, and then, yeah.
Great.
And then I would love to bring our newly constituted finance team in to meet the board at a future meeting soon. Just
Sure, that'd be great.
Again, internal promotions, and we did hire Paul, a new employee, to fill Stephanie's assistant town accountant role. So he started last week. A lot of faces, a lot of new faces, faces in new positions, a lot of new energy. Anything else I missed, Catherine?
But it's
on the
all
positions?
budget neutral. We
It's all
gotta
budget neutral.
Remind people that, yes, there's new people sitting new places, but we have not added to the
Actually, so yeah, and actually a little bit
salary
less.
budget,
So,
okay.
great. And so we'll move on to the internal organizational development plan, and I will turn it over to Catherine to discuss that.
Thank you. So back in spring and summer of 2024, the management team had started receiving some feedback from staff, department heads regarding workload equity, burnout, communication. Maybe it wasn't always so clear. And then professional growth. People were looking for opportunities to grow. So we got together, we brainstormed ways to get at what we could do to make things better for the entire team. And so we started planning out a staff retreat. And so this has turned into 2 staff retreats, and we invited all staff to both retreats. We had about, I would say, 50 employees at each in the fall of 2024. We held the retreats on Fridays, so that way we had some space for employees to come and hopefully have some time that was uninterrupted as much as they could to participate in this. So in September of 2024, we worked with employees. Again, there were about 50 attendees, both small and large group settings. We discussed and ranked our top 5 of the following. So we talked about why we do the work that we do, our top 5 workplace values, and how we know our values are being met. And so that was that first meeting. We spent about 2.5 hours working on that. And then in October of 2024, we came back together as a group, again, had approximately 50 employees attend. Again, we worked in both small and large group settings on translating the value statements from the September session and put those into actionable goals and implementation steps to come up with a plan. And so from there, and I can't take credit for all of this plan, Jen and I worked really closely on this, and we spent a lot of time sifting through all of the data that we collected from both sessions. We really tried to be mindful of all the voices that were heard, all of the statements that were made, to make sure that they were included in this plan, because again, this is our organization, and so we wanted to make sure that everybody's voice was heard. And so that's how we sort of put together this draft plan, and then also an action plan, which you should have in your packet. I think we called it an activity chart. And so our intention back in the fall was to, or I should say winter, was to present the plan to staff earlier in the spring of 2025. However, we had some changes pop up and some larger projects going on, so we weren't able to meet with the staff until May 16th, which was this past Friday. And so we invited all staff once again to get together and meet to present the draft plan. And again, we worked in small and large groups to collect feedback on the plan as well as the action items that we presented. And so we collected that data. We're going to go through that data because we want to make sure that, again, all of those ideas are incorporated into the plan and the activities chart. And then this morning, after staff that attended the meeting on 5/16 had some time to sort of live with the plan, read it, and review it a little bit more, we asked for feedback again, just to see if there were, any further comments that they had. And so I think as of this meeting, I think we have 4 people have responded with some additional feedback. So that's great. And then we'll also be sending out the draft to all staff who were not able to attend with a different type of feedback form, just to collect their feedback once they've reviewed the plan and action steps. So in addition to the internal input that we've collected from the staff, we'll be using recommendations from external sources. So we're working with the Collins Center on a staffing study. Michael and I have a call tomorrow to talk to them about sort of where we're at with that study. And then we'll also be looking at community input once the comprehensive plan is complete. And then the goal is to have this organizational development plan to be a living document that will evolve with staff feedback, expert guidance, and community needs so that we may build a comprehensive, sustainable organizational development strategy that will help us attract and retain talented staff to continue to provide high-level services to the community.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think, Catherine and Jen did a great job on the plan. I think also, Catherine and Beth worked with me to, facilitate things, as well as Cindy Livingstone, like our small groups. But, I think just it is really, really special to get the group together. We don't have an opportunity to do that as staff a lot, and gosh, a lot of things we take for granted just in our positions because we do know everybody. Is, believe it or not everybody has
Knows everybody.
opportunities to know and interact with anybody. So the benefits we get out of these just go far beyond the reports and what you see on paper. The camaraderie that's built, the teamwork that's built, the things we learn about each other. We had some fun trivia games as well to do some icebreakers, or not icebreakers, but just to get to know our colleagues better. But I will say there were some very serious points that were brought up during the meeting. Things that we do need to address, and things that we need to, I don't want to say address quickly, but we need to show progress that we're working on them in order to maintain, I think, staff morale, maintain or improve staff morale, and then also ensure that, people are fulfilled coming to work. Again, you're not going to be fulfilled all the time. I think that's, and I don't think anybody's asking for that. But it was a very interesting conversation, but overall very, very positive. I think people do enjoy the work that they do. They do enjoy the team. They do enjoy the people that they work with. And so that's something that, to our ears, it makes us happy to know that at least we have the bones in place.
I think you can tell from when you look at the action items that people are happy and they want more interconnectedness, right,
Yeah.
with each other. That really came through to me. And so I think, and the other thing that really came through is it says under responsible parties person, it says K Bird a lot.
It does.
No, but I do, it comes through that they're just looking for connection, and that would build pride and in their positions and the workplace. So it looks really good. Thank you.
Other
Yeah.
thoughts, comments? Karen?
Yeah, I would piggyback on what you said, Claudia. Couple of comments and a question. First off, this is a lot of really incredible work, so I want to say good job so far, folks. I think it's important for our citizens to know that all the work that you're doing here, insofar as morale, interconnectedness, and such, directly translates into quality of service to the town. It is important, to have those things in a workplace, because that makes folks not just more motivated, but really, more motivated to do their jobs, do them well, and to continue delivering, high-value services. So I think, a lot of folks may think, oh, this sounds like a lot of extra stuff and like all the warm and fuzzies. It's like, well, there's a real purpose behind this. I mean, and yes, the warm and fuzzies are important too, but there's also an operational concern around this as well that I think folks need to understand that will yield positive results for everyone here in Ashland because this work is being done. Quick question. I just want to get some clarity on the expected deliverables from your work from the Collins Center. Like, what is, after the engagement, like what what are you hoping, what is the result that you're looking for after the engagement is done? What's the deliverable there?
So what we're, basically it was a two-stage kind of process. So first of all, we're looking at just some baseline comparable organizational data across departments from a number of different communities. Was it 18 that we ended up doing? 18. And then from there, what we've done is, and where we are right now, is taking a deeper dive into 3 communities. One that spends, relatively the same size as Ashland, but spends less than Ashland, and that would be the town of Milford. One, the town of Medway, that spends comparably to what Ashland does, and then one, the town of Sudbury, which does, which spends, significantly more. And so what we want to do is we want to take a look at what services are being provided by the 4 communities, Ashland and those 3. And so is it proportional to what's being spent, right? So, and I guess probably not the most scientific question, but, when you're looking at this data, what is each town getting for their dollar, right, in terms of services? And I think we want to make sure that, we are providing a good value. And there's a number of different ways you can use that. Comparative data is one method, that you can use to help gauge that or triangulate that. So that's that second piece that we're kind of stuck on right now. We're trying to figure out the way forward.
Oh, yeah.
It's the town that is spends less?
Milford.
Milford.
So is there a completion date for the engagement? Like,
We hope to clarify a lot of that tomorrow, Makita,
Okay.
when we have a call with the executive director.
that sounds like really interesting and useful information for our planning, so I'm kind of very intrigued to find out what.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Same here.
yeah. Thank you, yeah.
So quick question, just a follow-up on that. Like, so the Collins Center plan that we're going to receive, do they, when you say like they spend less, are you talking like total budget? Are you talking specifically for the municipal side? Or?
On a per capita basis, I mean, if you look at the total budget, it's not going to be, well, I guess, if you did look at the total budget, you'd end up kind of with the same ranking, if you will. But really, this is more like on a per capita basis.
Okay, so it's
And
like.
it does include, I think, schools when we did the calculation, right? You
So it's
remember?
basically like average tax, like the amount that the average taxpayer pays,
The amount that's spent.
amount that's spent.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which, as you
Okay.
know, is made up not only of taxpayer dollars, but state aid dollars, local receipts.
Okay.
Essentially, take the budget, divide the total budget, divide it by the number of people.
Per capita.
and get your-
okay. All right, because I'm
That
just,
way you can normalize it, kind of equalize it.
yeah, no, I was just curious, because like we have, our financial policy talks about how we allocate schools, municipal side, and also it would be interesting to see these communities too, how many school-age children they have, because that's also a driving factor. So I assume the Collins Center will provide a lot of that kind of background too, as far as,
So we can definitely fill that in, whether it would
Okay.
be the Collins Center, or us, finding school
Yeah.
population is pretty.
I just want to make sure we're like, we're really kind of having a very open look at what those numbers entail.
Right.
So,
You want to get a full picture.
yeah.
It would be helpful, yeah. I think just overall, if we have an understanding of like methodology, I think that's what Brandy's talking about. If we could get an idea of like what that is, so that when we do get a chance to take a look at it, we know what we're looking at, we know how to analyze it. But I'd love to see like just what that methodology is. And maybe we'd all like to see a copy of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Because Sudbury may spend a lot more money on schools than we do, and
Sure.
and less on the municipal side. Like it just,
It'll be really interesting, I think, to see. Because I think once you get that data, then you can also decide where you might want to do a little deeper dive. Now, obviously, we wouldn't necessarily use the Collins Center for that, but we could do that.
I was
maybe
going to
on our own.
say that some of this data is available online already through MAPC.
We've, and I'm sure, I think the first round, we
Okay.
utilized a lot of
Okay,
that.
because they've done so many different studies, and they collect data on a regular basis about what communities are doing.
Yeah, I'll use like the good IT example. Paul always threw this out, and Catherine, you have a little bit more closer experience with the town of Medway than I do, but I believe, so like we have 5 people in our IT department that supports town and schools, and I think Medway, the total is like 14? Is that between municipal and school?
So I have a terrible memory, and that was 2 years
Okay, that was 2 years ago?
ago. I don't think they have that many, though.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it looks like now, but
Okay.
I don't think there were that many, but.
Okay.
How do you even it out for a town that, like Milford, that has, many more businesses and a much larger?
Well, hopefully their IT department's not supporting the businesses.
I'm not talking about their IT department, I'm talking about overall, how do you make it compare to us?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I
not
mean, that's
necessarily sure.
striking difference to me, right, is Milford's.
Well, that would
tax
probably
base.
show,
Yeah,
well, that would
different
show up in your
makeup.
tax base, right? Very different, that's something I think you'd probably
But,
want to know.
right, and their
from a
budget
report.
might be, right, they could have a similar budget to us, right? But how that budget is funded, are we looking at that as well? Is
Wouldn't it be offset by what they're raising from?
Their businesses?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that could be important data, but you're looking at what is being spent as opposed to where the money that is being spent comes from first, which I think is probably certainly important, I think, information to have, but wherever the money, like, you got to spend the money somehow, wherever it's coming from. So that's really kind of why we're looking at service levels and what's spent.
I'm kind of surprised we actually, pitted ourselves against Milford because they have a larger commercial.
Again, that's a completely, like, the makeup of the tax base is a completely separate thing than what is being spent. And what's being spent and what are you getting for
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Again, I think if we just saw, like, we're talking about methodology here.
Yeah,
So like, if we could just see like a write-up of like, how the study was designed, I think that might answer a lot of questions that we're asking right now. And then we could, come back with follow-ups. But I think that would be helpful.
But I think that what you guys have put together here is great, because I think
100%.
it does sound like that this is really bringing the staff together, and it feels like people are having a voice in how their work environment, their career development, all that stuff, so.
Yeah.
it's important.
And I will say, actually, some of these changes that you're seeing here at the table, like with just kind of the restructure, really a part of that was based on some of the feedback that we got in the fall. People were having a hard time getting face time with their managers, with me, and we were hearing that. That was something that was really, really lacking. And so part of the whole rationale behind this structure was to hopefully, be able to get us out a little bit more and just, even just some quick contact. I mean, what is it? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
It's trite and it's maybe overused, but man, sometimes they're overused for a reason, and it's because it's true. So,
Good. Any other questions on the organizational plan? Okay, moving on.
yeah, so I did receive a call from our Senator, Senate President Spilka, who was successful in including $500,000 in additional complete streets funding through the supplemental spending bill that was based specifically on transportation and education. So my understanding is that believe that might be in conference. I don't know. I haven't got the latest update, but we feel confident that we will receive something.
So is the plan, because, I don't know, 6 years ago, we put a complete streets plan together. We worked with Green, I think, to, do that work.
Yeah.
So are we like ticking stuff off of that list that this funding will help pay for?
So we're
Or
very.
what's the plan, should it come through?
So, Complete Streets in this respect, it wasn't necessarily limited to the Complete Streets program.
Okay.
But, work that would help us comply with Complete Streets policies.
Okay,
So we can use it for sidewalks, we could use it to tick off some of our Complete Streets plans,
Okay.
our plan. Yeah, we have some flexibility, and it was designed that way.
I'm realizing it's probably more than 6 years ago because it was before Pete was
Peter,
here.
yeah.
So, okay.
So, thank you, Senate President
Yes,
Spoka,
thank you
for
very
that.
much.
It is always, it's always nice when you get a call from the Senate President, and, she's got good news on the
Yep.
other line, which she does relatively often.
Good.
Um,
Okay.
And then, let's see, the penultimate item is the IMA, intermunicipal agreement between the city of Framingham, the town of Ashland, to do the preservation study over on Washacom Lake. So just to let you know, we were using CPA funds for that. So I think you'll see the scope of the study. I believe we included that in your packet and everything. So it's good to move forward with that. That's been a long road.
Now, this didn't get voted the last town meetings. Has this been voted before, the 25K?
It was the 24, it was in the,
Okay.
at the 24.
Fall
town
of
meeting.
24, we voted. Okay, I thought we had done something, but, okay. Any comments or questions on this agreement? It's pretty straightforward. Okay,
And then, again, last but not least, we did want to talk about dates for a board retreat. And so we've identified 3 Saturdays, I believe, in July as options. I know we were going to try to talk to the Warren Conference Center and see if they were available. Oh, Susan, did we have a chance to hear back from them yet?
I reached out, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. So hopefully if you can let us know.
so the dates that we're looking at are either the 12th, the 19th, or the 26th of July for a possible retreat. I'm not available the 19th.
And I'm not available the 26th.
I'm not available the 26th. Sounds like the 12th.
Okay, looks like we're looking at the 12th then.
Yep.
What time would you want to start? I would anticipate us working in the morning and going in, breaking for lunch, and maybe, putting in another hour or 2 in the afternoon.
How early do people like to start?
I'm up at 4:30, so.
8, 9,
Not 4:30.
9 would be
Definitely.
great.
9 would be great.
Yeah,
9 o'clock?
yeah.
9 o'clock.
Okay, 9 to 1, 9 to 2.
I would say, can we just book from 9 to 2:30? I'm not saying we would
Yeah.
use that whole
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
And so it's just,
July 12th, 9 to 2:30, and we're looking at potentially doing it at the conference center.
correct.
Okay.
Going back old school.
Yeah. it's been a
We haven't
while.
done that in a while. But I think also just thinking about the structure of this, I think, one of the things that we have realized over the last few months, especially with the FY26 budget discussions, is that we have some fiscal pressures, to say it lightly, that certainly need to be a priority. But I think we also need to look at kind of what is being done. I think we need to prioritize things. Just remember, if you say yes to everything, that means nothing is important. And so I think, we need to make some hard choices at that point. And so I think if we could spend our morning focusing on that, and then the second part, once we have those identified, the second part, like in the afternoon, we can start identifying what we're going to need to start having a little bit more substantive discussions on those items. I think that would be at least the skeleton, I guess you could say, of a structure. but certainly open to feedback.
Okay?
Yeah,
We
I
can
think
have further discussion about the retreat as we do have our June meetings. But
as long as we, I think before we go on the retreat, as long as we can identify exactly like, what our outcomes, what we're expecting to accomplish that day, make sure we stick to it, whatever that is, before that, that's
Great idea.
fine. Just
Yeah.
make sure that we stay on target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nikita, have you ever heard of appreciative inquiry as an approach to this?
No.
Okay. I thought if anybody sitting at the table, you might have known this with your background, but we actually used that approach on Friday. Appreciative inquiry is a way of approaching solving problems that, the traditional model is, okay, what's broken, how do we fix it, right? Appreciative inquiry starts off really kind of like, well, what are we doing well? Like, which of the projects are we doing
Oh,
well?
okay.
How do we do more of that?
Oh,
And how
okay.
can we take what we learn from those and how can we replicate that?
Then yes, I am familiar with it.
Okay. So, just a different
But
name.
by a different moniker, but
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I think you've noticed we've built off previous retreats. These have become an iterative process, and I think the last one we had, it was, I enjoyed, basically framing a few things for discussion and letting the board have that discussion and then providing input and providing data to help you, facilitate that or, that discussion. So, and I thought it worked well. The feedback that we received, I think, was well.
Okay, good. Anything else, Michael?
That's it.
Okay. We have 2 items left on our agenda, our board reorg and our board reports. Do we want to flip them, or are we good with doing the board reorg and then the board reports?
Either or, doesn't matter.
Okay, let's do it.
We have 16 minutes before 10 o'clock. So
Yeah, I
just wanna
don't
let
think
you
we're
know.
going to get it all done by
I
then.
don't think
but
so.
Okay. Let's flip it. Let's do board reports, and then we'll do the board reorg and finish it off. Yes? Okay. Makita?
Well, let's see. Just want to say a couple of things really quick. First off, again, thank you so much to town clerk and team and volunteers. Democracy starts in your backyard. I am very, very appreciative of the citizens who took the time to vote in yesterday's election and also participate in town meeting. Let's keep that going, folks. Also looking forward to having our select board I think not open house, but like what do we at the farmers market? What do we call it? Yeah. Office hours. Yes, office hours. Yes. So I'm looking forward to doing that this summer. It's going to be a busy one, and I think I am very encouraged by seeing the kind of participation that we've seen leading up to town meeting, and hopefully that will continue. So yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay.
So
Claudia?
Yeah, I guess I haven't been doing much, but, so I don't have much to say, except that I would certainly second Makita's comments in terms of all the hard work that goes into having a town election and all the people that came out to vote. And I was really happy to see that we ended up with the planning board positions filled. And certainly happy to have you both back with us. So thank you, and it's been a busy I know it's been a busy time for everybody, and so that's it for me.
Okay. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I would just like to thank everybody that came out yesterday to vote, express their democracy at its finest. And I appreciate the support. I appreciate the campaign that was done with Brandy and with Carlton. They're very professionally done. It's always nice to see that people have integrity when you run for office and not have to rely on negativity. But this was a positive campaign for all 3 of us, and I really appreciate the fact. And I was thankful for Carlton to remind us of that and do the things that we needed to do. So I wish him well. He's still on the Affordable Housing Trust, so I will be seeing him, and we will continue working. Next week, there is a groundbreaking ceremony at 487 Main Street, and it's actually an affordable house that's being built through Habitat for Humanity. with the work of the town and approval of the town. So I believe that's Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So hope you can make it. I did send something along to all of you, so I hope you have the opportunity to be there. And tomorrow, we have the roadway traffic safety committee. A lot of the topics that we discussed tonight will be discussed at that meeting. And I just want to make people aware that one of the topics that will be discussed is the potential of private roads being gated off. And that's something that we need to be aware of, because that's definitely going to cause some concerns and some issues, safety-wise and road reconstruction-wise, if that's happening.
Especially if there are private roads that are being gated off that we then plow and
Well,
so.
right, and now I know many years ago, there was a memorandum of understanding. I don't want to get into the
Yeah,
big
we
stuff.
don't- we
but
don't
I
need to
just-
get into the
no,
details,
But I
but
just want to
just-
say that,
Yeah.
we're working on it, and hopefully there'll be a positive resolution instead of something that's going to be blown out of the water. Anyway, so with that, that's what we have. And again, thank you, everybody, and I'm happy to be back and yes, this is my last term. I just want to let you know, it's already done. It's already done. No,
Sorry.
I may have said it, no. Age becomes a factor, and I want to watch my grandson play baseball, so yeah, that's going to be a lot of
Okay.
extra time.
Great.
Yeah, so
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Joe.
Thank you.
Randy?
I just want to echo everything that Joe said about the election. Thank you to everybody that came out. Thank you to the town clerk's office and all the volunteers. It was a great yet cold day. And so everyone that came out to hold signs, Bill Gath is Joe's number one supporter.
My campaign manager.
So it's always really good to have people come out, and a contested election makes us all a little bit better. So and thank you to Yolanda and WACA for hosting the candidates forum, which I thought was a really good discussion. There's been a lot going on with this election, so the last thing I will say is thank God it's over. So. Other than that, we've been very involved in the comprehensive plan the last week. We've had 2 long meetings. Last Thursday we met. Yolanda had facilitated the group and did a great job. And then we had our consultant come this past Monday, and we went for 3 hours on Monday. And we are almost done with our strategies that we have kind of called out and evolved a bit. And very soon, we will get into the drafting mode of the comprehensive plan, and with the hope that this will be in good shape by September. So that is the goal. So with this to go to town meeting in November. So more to come on that. I put a note here to send out information on select board office hours to all you guys, because I never did send that email. So that's on my to-do list. And next Friday, I am going to be joining a lot of volunteers and the class of 2025 at the Reality Fair again this year. And this is near and dear to my heart because this is my son's class year. So, no tears, a little tears, a few tears, maybe, not next Friday. But I will be part of the charity and community service booth and talking about all the good stuff that we can do as a community to make a difference, so these kids leave Ashland and continue to give back. So I'm looking forward to that. Student Council runs that, and they do a great job. So, and we'll meet again before graduation, and then I'll have some tears. But but that's it. My household is a crazy place these days. So, but all is good. So I can't complain. I just need some sleep. So.
Good.
You didn't sleep last night after the campaign was over?
No. Last night I went to bed at 9 o'clock last night. 9 o'clock. I was done. 9 o'clock. It's been a long week.
A couple of things. As Brandy mentioned, I've been sitting in the comp plan meeting. We had 2 nights. It was very interesting being asked to facilitate as our consultant couldn't be there. And I really enjoyed working with the group to get people to have a discussion. So that was a good, very busy 2 nights. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., I will be in Wellesley for an in-person Metro West Regional Collaborative meeting. What's interesting is Mark Drazen, who is the current president, I forget what his title is, for the MAPC, is actually retiring sometime in June. So this will be one of his last in-person events with our collaborative. Always a good discussion with the other select board, planning board members from the 10 communities that are part of the Metro West Regional Collaborative. As Brandy said, I had almost forgotten, Friday I will also be at the Reality Fair. I had previously done their budget booth, but last year a past student created a civic engagement booth. And on this Friday, so it's myself, Michael, Jack Lewis, and then his aide, and then an aide from Senator Spilka's office. And we're looking to have some mini debates, either with the students or in front of the students, to sort of talk about different things and show them how they can get involved. One of the big things we started last year was getting them to vote, and we actually had a QR code for kids who hadn't voted or had not registered, so that will also be one of the things that we're doing. If you would allow me to indulge just for a couple of minutes. So I want to thank the board. It's been a crazy, full, productive year from last May to this May. I want to thank you for having been allowed to be the chair. I remember when I was considering whether or not I was going to run for another term, and I had a number of people say to me, "We need you to stay on." I'm glad so far that I have. I know I have 2 more years, but it's always a little bittersweet when you step down as chair from having that one role and now part of a member. And my goal has always been that even though I have the title of chair, it's not my board, it's not my decisions, it's the full group. And I hope that that's what I've been able to give all of you this past year, full participation and full. And I know it didn't always happen, but that was my goal. There was 2 projects that I hoped to finish this past year that just did not get past and over that finish line that I look to finish. Working on how we do reappointments for committees and the volunteers that we appoint. It's one of those things that we had some really good momentum, and then life got in the way for both Makita and I. And then also Claudia and I had talked about trying to change the evaluation process that we do for Michael, and again, different things. And certainly this past spring with positions and people leaving, that didn't happen. So my goal is to continue working on that. And again, just thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the community for supporting me in this role. And I look forward to supporting the next chair and vice chair. So thank you. And that moves us to our last item on the agenda, which is our board reorg. So we need someone to be nominated for chair, vice chair, and secretary.
So I guess I will say this. So generally, the way that we work, for anyone who's watching and doesn't know, is we rotate. So the chair position in general obviously runs our meetings, works to put together our agenda for these meetings, and also responds to the public, the emails that come in, to the select board email. The chair responds because open meeting law prohibits them from, or for all of us to be basically participating in that process. So, and it's an organizational job. It's a lot of work. But we generally have the chair for a year because we rotate. So last year when Yolanda had was next up to be chair, we had all talked about my being vice chair for this year, which I did when it's been a great year. Joe was next in line to be chair, and so I think that if Joe is amenable to it, I think that I would love to nominate Joe Magnani as our next chair of the select board for this next year.
Well,
But that's up to Joe.
it's up to me, huh? Well, I appreciate that. And I would be more than willing to try to fill the shoes that Yolanda did. She did a great job this year. And I'm sorry that I did not acknowledge that during my board report. So I
That's
apologize.
okay, don't worry,
No,
do not,
no,
no need to
it's-
apologize, Joe.
No, it was well-deserved, and I apologize for not even bringing that up in my mind. So anyway, yes, I would be happy to accept that nomination.
Then I will second it.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of Joe becoming chair for the next year? Aye.
Aye, thank you.
That passes. We now need a nomination for vice chair. Someone, so I'll follow up with what Brandy said. So had we done the regular rotation, I would have been chair, Joe would have been vice chair, Brandy would have been clerk.
Clerk.
So,
Would you,
I'd like to nominate Brandy.
I was gonna say, can we entertain doing that?
yep, and with we have to allow, you can nominate her to be vice chair with the allowance that she can see it be in the same role for 2 years.
For 2 years, right,
Right,
yep, because that's in our
yep, if I can get a second.
second.
Okay, all those in favor of Brandy being vice chair and allowing to bypass the rule
Aye.
of only being in one role? Okay, and then we need
Clerk,
a nomination for clerk.
nominate Claudia Bennett.
Okay, all those in favor of Claudia becoming clerk for the next year?
Aye,
Aye, okay.
thank
We
you.
have a new slate. Joe, if you'd like to close us out?
No, I think I'll let that,
Okay.
I'll reserve that for you. I'll reserve that for you.
Okay.
Because
Okay,
that's,
then
that's the right thing to do.
it's just 9:59, so we
know.
don't have to
Right.
go past 10 o'clock. Thank you all. If I can.
good meeting.
And just one quick thing. Thank you, William. I appreciate
Yes,
the
so
flock.
remember,
Thank you very much.
the flamingos
Yeah,
that
the
you
flamingos.
see are for Joe's birthday, so happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Is today your actual birthday?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Memorial Day.
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day.
Celebrates for the whole week.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
some
in the
people
rain.
celebrate for a month, so.
There we go.
Birthday month.
Okay,
Happy birthday, Joe, and thank you,
Yeah.
Yolanda.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're all welcome. If I can get a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. That closes our meeting for Wednesday, May 21st. Our next meeting is Wednesday, June 4th. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and see you in June.
Batten down the hatches,
Yeah, no
Yep.
kidding.
for sure.
All right.